one of these teams still has a shot to get there, the Pittsburgh Steelers. For Tampa Bay, of course, they're still searching for that elusive first win, and I guess, to be honest, happy to be out of town for 3 games on the road because the fans there are very angry, Doc.
The fans are angry, but when you're 0-8, a fan has a right to be angry. But in fairness to the Tampa Bay Bucks, they lost 3 of those games by a field goal, 1 in overtime to Dallas, and they have above-average defense with Hugh Green and Leroy Selman. But if the Bucks are to win today, Jack Thompson must get the ball upfield and into the end zone, but that's going to be tough against this Steeler defense.
Well, when you talk about the steel curtain defense, that's in the 70s. This Steeler team, a brand new personality for Coach Chuck Noll.
Chuck Noll calls them the Steel Heat. Yes, they do lead the NFL in sacks and interceptions, and they would put pressure on the quarterback. What that allows is for the ball control offense the Pittsburgh Steelers want to run, with Franco Harris off to one of his best starts ever, and with Cliff Stout. Stout early, replacing Bradshaw, had problems, but now he has his confidence and is improving week in and week out. So it's a tough but not impossible task for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers against these streaking Pittsburgh Steelers. Jim Kelly, we're just about ready to start, so let's kick it off.
All right, Doc, you're looking at Bill Capice for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He'll tee it up from the 35. Henry Odom wide to the top of your screen for the Steelers, and Tim Harris to the near side. This football game underway from Pittsburgh. And as it began last week in Tampa Bay, Capice puts his first one out of bounds. Penalty flag is down, and this will back the Bucks up 5 more yards. We are live from Three Rivers Stadium here in Pittsburgh. As we said at the opening, it's the 91st consecutive sellout. The Steelers, of course, one of the great teams in the National Football League, winners of 4 Super Bowls, and what a great tradition they had here, Doc, even back when you played.
Oh, yes, the Steeler defense, and they were doing it the same way. The Steeler defense is red hot. They've been winning games for them, as I just mentioned. That's ball control offense. Franco Harris having a great season. Cliff Stout, week in and week out, improving. Of course, Terry Bradshaw out with that elbow. Not expected back this year, although there is a possibility he may be later on. So the Steelers are hot, and they're doing it the way they've always done it, with defense.
Upper left of your screen, that's Henry Odom, number 44. The bottom right, Timmy Harris, number 43. And Bill Capice will kick again, this time from the 30-yard line. So the Steelers, who have had some problems on the kickoff return unit, will have some pretty good field position. Second kick by Capice. This one is short. Fielded by Odom at the 10. 20. Hurdles over one Buck, stays on his feet, across the 30, and down at the 31-yard line. First and 10 for that man, Cliff Stout, and the offensive unit of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Top rushing attack in the AFC, led by the veteran Franco Harris. And some new numbers maybe for you, Walter Abercrombie, and wide receivers, no longer Lynn Swan and John Stallworth. They're Calvin Sweeney and Wayne Capers, the rookie. They think he can be a good one. The offensive line, Peterson will have his hands full with the likes of Leroy Selman and Hugh Green. Mike Webster, the veteran center, the heart of the offensive line for Pittsburgh. Wide receivers left and right. Opening possession, Cliff Stout, pitchback, Franco Harris. Hurdles over the middle and slithers down to the 32-yard line. Picks up 1. Brings up second down and 9. Ed Judy in there in the tackle defensively. And speaking of the defense, Doc, the 3-4 of Tampa Bay.
If the Tampa Bay Bucks are to win today, number 63, Leroy Selman, had a great game last week. He's going to have to perform up to his capabilities and above. Same thing with Hugh Green, former University of Pittsburgh star, coming home. Beasley Reese, and only in his second year with the Bucks, starts at free safety.
Calvin Sweeney wide to the left side. Capers top of your screen. Stout sets the offense. Did not go down, but now he does in the grasp of Dave Logan. 5 years out of Pittsburgh, a homecoming for the former Pitt Panther. And can you believe that Dave Logan was a 12th round draft pick back in '79?
Hard to believe. He's become one of the premier nose tackles in the game. In that time, Tampa Bay put pressure on with Mark Cotton, his safety blitz. And if they're going to win today, their defense must contain Stout with his controlled passing game and the running game with Franco Harris.
Cliff Stout is the 9th rated passer in the AFC. You can see it's an obvious passing situation. Wide receivers both left and right. Stout 108 completions, 186 attempts, 58% completion ratio, 5 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Motion by Benny Cunningham, tight end, top of your screen. Bucks are coming. Stout out of the pocket, down in the grasp of another Buccaneer. It's the same one, Dave Logan again.
And you see the pressure coming from the outside. Number 78, John Cannon, was the man who put pressure on Stout. And now the Bucks will get the ball back with good field position. And Jim, if the Bucks don't get on top early, it's going to be a long afternoon. When you're in that losing mode, losing 8 games, you must make things happen to get your confidence back.
You're looking at Andre Tyler, number 81. He's also the holder on the placement team. And that is Craig Colquitt, the punter for the Pittsburgh Steelers in his 5th year out of Tennessee with almost a 42-yard punting average. Watched him at workout yesterday. He was banging some beauties. Flag is down. This one is not. It's a wobbly kick that Tyler will field at the 46. Tyler into Steeler territory down at the 43-yard line. Chopped down by Greg Best, number 25. But let's check the flag. A 40-yard punt, a 12-yard return.
The penalty against Pittsburgh. Excuse me, Jim. The penalty against Pittsburgh.
Offense, illegal motion, number 90, decline the penalty. First down the other way.
That's reserve linebacker Bobby Coors, 6'3", 235, 3rd year out of Arizona State, injured on the specialty team. The penalty, as you heard, by Ben Dreith, our referee, against the Pittsburgh Steelers. So when we come back, the Bucs will have the ball already in Steeler territory. You think the pressure is not on that man, the throwing Samoan, Jack Thompson. Tampa Bay 0-8. Wide receivers left and right. Motion by Kevin House to the bottom of your screen. I formation. Wilder is the tailback. He gets the call. Hole over the right side. Plunging down at the 40-yard line. Tackled by Gary Dunn, number 67. We'll talk about this offensive line because, John Dockery, it's now the 8th different offensive line that the Bucs have had in 9 starts.
Exactly, Jim. That's been their biggest problem. As you look at number 83, Theo Bell, playing for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's coming back. The only steady force in that offensive line is the center, number 50, Steve Wilson. Everyone else has been juggled around. That's been the biggest problem.
Sanders, Buznak, Yarno, Thomas, tight end Giles. Motion, Kevin House, top of the screen. Bucs look at 2nd and 8. James Wilder around the left side down to the 36. Robin Cole in his 7th year out of New Mexico, 6'2", 220, a first-round pick for the Steelers. Talking about the Steeler defense, they also play the 3-4, John.
As we mentioned, they lead the NFL in sacks, and they're tied in interceptions. Tom Beasley, Dunn, and Goodman. We'll see a whole bunch of them. And there's a familiar name, linebacker 58, Jack Lambert, the perennial All-Pro, anchoring that defense. Mel Blount, number 47, 14 years in the league.
Theo Bell, top of your screen to the left side. Kevin House wide to the right. Tampa Bay now looks at 3rd and a long 3. Hitting over the middle is James Wilder, gets his 3rd straight call. He's in his 3rd year out of Missouri, and he approaches first down yardage. Ben Dreith says it's indeed a first down, so the Bucs, their defense did the job in the first Steeler possession, and Tampa Bay picks up a very big first down.
Interesting, Jim, because the Bucs coming into this game, as you look at John McKay along the sidelines, are the worst in the NFL at rushing the football, averaging just 70 yards per game against one of the best defenses in the NFL against the rush. The Steelers, 4th in against the rush, giving up only 100 yards a game.
Slot formation to the left side. Backs are split. Melvin Carver, 28. James Wilder. Wilder again. Huge hole. Inside the 25, barrels his way down near the 22, and again close to first down yardage. Ricky Woods out of Boise State, a 4th-round pick in 82. The blocking by Sanders and Yarno. Sanders 74, Yarno 68. Very important first possession for Tampa Bay. They certainly didn't want to come in here to Three Rivers, where the Steelers have an amazing home record, and fall behind Pittsburgh because that steel curtain defense we alluded to, they like to come at you so much. And Tampa Bay's problem has been scoring, frankly, in the first and second quarters.
Only inches short of that first down, Jim. And I think by running the ball, Tampa Bay is trying to take the pressure off Jack Thompson. Last week he threw 3 interceptions. He was sacked 7 times by New Orleans. If they can get a running game going, that'll take a lot of pressure off the passing games for Jack Thompson.
Wilder now 4 carries for a total of 20 yards. Almost a free play right now in second and less than the length of the football. Now you might want to try to get the ball to Kevin House. First down for the Buccaneers inside the 20-yard line. You know, as we talked with Kevin House yesterday, you could see the frustration written all over his face. He's a big play, a game-breaker kind of individual. Averages almost 20 yards a catch, and he just hasn't figured in the Bucs game plan. He
hasn't at all, Jim. He's only caught 18 passes for 197 yards. He's only averaging 11 yards a catch, and that's well below his usual. As you look at Chuck Noll along the sidelines, building this team again. Great defense and emerging offense.
Jack Thompson, the quarterback, bends over. He said yesterday, after 8 straight losses, it's hard to talk about the negative. What else can you say? Wilder again. Penalty flag is down. Now it looks like Flag Day out there. might be a face mask against the Pittsburgh Steelers, might be holding against Tampa Bay. Let's check the call with Ben Bright. Looks like James Wilder is going to have a big afternoon in the Tampa Bay scheme of things. Jack Thompson indicating it's against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Face mask Pittsburgh.
I think it was late, and they were trying to bring Wilder down. Watch this right here. See the face mask? Wilder spins away and gets some extra yards, but no, that's number 57, Mike Merriweather, the linebacker.
57, grabbing the face mask. 5-yard penalty. That's it.
That's it.
That's it. You heard it right here.
There's Bob Coors out with that sprained left knee. 5-yard penalty, not a flagrant face mask.
But Jim, you mentioned Wilder being the workhorse. Last week it was the same thing. 20 carries for 64 yards. They also had 2 touchdowns for Tampa Bay. They have to get Wilder in the action in order to win, and that's what they're doing right now.
A bit of confusion on the spot of the football. Jack Thompson went over to assist Ben Bright. Wilder today, 6 carries, 24 yards so far. He's been the only ball carrier. He has been the Tampa Bay offense. First and 3, as you saw on the graphic. Again, almost a free play when you get down here. And Jack Thompson has yet to throw the football. House to the bottom of your screen, Carter to the top. Steelers jumped offside.
And Jim, one of the things that I thought that Jack Thompson might be able to do here is to vary his starting count. Hopefully get the Steelers to jump off sides. He might have done that right there. Steelers did jump off sides. Another penalty against them. This is an important drive for Tampa Bay just because of their mindset. They're expecting to lose. They're expecting negative.
Offside, number 67. First down.
Gary Dunn a little anxious for the Pittsburgh Steelers at nose guard, but they wait for negative things to happen. If they can get ahead this right now, 7-0, it'll be a big lift.
Cleveland gets a field goal. They go out in front over Houston. Houston can empathize with Tampa Bay. They are both 0-8. House to the right, Carter to the left. Wilder inside the 5, down to the 3.5-yard line. James Wilder has been the Tampa Bay Buccaneer offense. You know, we talked to him yesterday in the hotel, and the same questions applied from the preceding week. We said, don't you feel a little bit of an extra burden on you because you have been the Tampa Bay offense? He said, no, not really. Each one of us has got to dig down a little deeper inside and pick up the slack, pick up a little bit of the burden among ourselves. No one player can carry the team, not myself, and especially not Jack Thompson.
And he has been the offense so far. He's carried the ball 6 times for 27 yards, and he carried on every play last week except for one, Jim, on the running game.
9:13 left to go in a scoreless first quarter, and Jack Thompson elects to take a timeout. Tampa Bay on the move inside Steeler territory. We're tied 0-0. Steelers have hurt themselves with penalties. Tampa Bay driving offensively, running the ball very effectively with James Wilder, but the Steelers defensively have hurt themselves with penalties. On 2nd down and 3 from the 3. Double tight end for the Bucs. James Wilder out of bounds at the 1. Mike Merriweather was hanging on. 3rd-round draft pick back in '82 out of Pacific. But let's check the penalty call, and it appears to be against Tampa Bay. This is something that we saw last week when Tampa Bay was locked.
Number 28.
That's Melvin Carver out of Nevada, Las Vegas. This is what we started to say, John. We saw this so often last week. Tampa Bay would get a break. The Saints turned the ball over to them 6 times. Only one of the 6 times could Tampa Bay take it in and capitalize. Now you get down to the 3-yard line. A penalty backs you all the way up at the 14.
Teams that are losing tend to do that. They make mistakes. They throw interceptions. They fumble the ball. They have penalties.
Theo Bell, top of your screen, wide left. Jimmy Giles, the tight end, to the right side. Kevin House, motion near side. Thompson to put it up behind Kevin House. Now, in fairness to Jack Thompson, the Steelers coming with all kinds of pressure that time. but that looked like a typical Tampa Bay pass play, something the timing is just not working out between the young quarterback and his wide receiver, and the offensive line not totally blameless either, John.
Exactly, that's a case. In the NFL these days, a wide receiver has to read as well as a quarterback, and they have to be in sync. That time, House read there was coverage inside, went back outside. Thompson didn't see it and threw the ball away.
Third down from the 13. They need the touchdown. Thompson, hurry up pass. He's got Carver down at the 9, but you can see the pursuit by the Pittsburgh Steelers. Gerald Carter wrestled down by Dwayne Woodruff and Donnie Shell. It was interesting because Donnie Shell was one of the Steelers that said, you got to be very careful with this Pittsburgh Steeler team as the crowd rises to the occasion here for the steel curtain defense. Donnie Shell said a lot of our fans are going to be very surprised just what kind of a team Tampa Bay comes in. Their record is 0-8, but they are no means an 0-8 football team.
Jim, basically they have the same personnel, but for a few people that went to the playoffs over the last few years. So this is not a bad team, especially defensively.
Injuries have riddled the offensive unit, and of course they've lost 2 games in overtime to Dallas and to the Minnesota Vikings. Bill Capice out of the hold of Andre Tyler from the 21, snap, spot, kick, and the Bucs are on the board. Tampa Bay takes their first possession. They had it down at the 3-yard line, but penalties and the Steeler defense backed them up. They get a field goal by Bill Capice. They strike first. 8:14 to go. 3-0. Bucs on top over the Steelers. Field goal by that man, Bill Capice, and the Bucs lead it by a score of 3-0. Henry Odom, 44, top of your screen on the left side, and Timmy Harris to the right. Henry Odom, second kickoff return. This one from 3 yards in. Stays on his feet with a good return around the right side up near the 28. Booker Reese out of Bethune-Cookman in there in the tackle defensively for Tampa Bay, and their defense a bit fired up. Let's check some scores around the NFL today. Besides Cleveland leading 3-0 against Houston, the Giants have jumped out in front against Dallas. Jeff Rutledge to Zeke Mowat, 46-yard scoring strike, 7-0. The Lions on top, a 1-yard Vince Thompson touchdown run, and the Colts get a field goal against the Philadelphia Eagles. Capers wide to the right side, Sweeney wide to the left. Stout starts first and 10 from his own 27-yard line. Handoff, Walter Abercrombie, loose football, and Hugh Green says Tampa Bay has got it. Ben Dreiss says Tampa Bay has got it. First down, the Buccaneers. John Holt, number 21, off the bottom of the pile, the man that recovered that loose pigskin.
And what a big break for Tampa Bay. If they recover the ball there, they have a chance. Remember last week they went ahead 14-0. The defense was mostly responsible for that, but yet they still lost the game. Jack Thompson must get the ball into the end zone. Should
have been ahead 17-0, but Capice missed a field goal. He's got 1 field goal now. We'll be back. Tampa Bay leads 3-0. Dockery, keep your eye on number 52, Scott Brantley, middle of the screen now.
Abercrombie carrying the ball in the wrong hand. The inside hand makes it vulnerable to a fumble when hit. He does fumble. Holt comes up. Right there you see Holt squeezing in to get the fumble recovery. Gives Tampa Bay good field position.
There you see the takeaway and the giveaway comparison between the Buccaneers and the Steelers. Overwhelmingly in Pittsburgh's favor, but Tampa Bay's got a 3-0 lead. Motion top of the screen by Kevin House. Play action, Thompson, incomplete, looking for Kevin House. Good coverage by the Pittsburgh Steeler defense. Atlanta gets a field goal by Luckhurst, and they lead the Patriots. The field goal from 23 yards out. Coverage by Dwayne Woodruff that time on Kevin House. Jack Thompson having a rough afternoon early in the aerial department. You see the time left in a scoreless first quarter for the Steelers. The Bucs have that field goal from 26 yards out by Bill Capice. From the 33 of the Steelers, James Wilder. Wrestled down by Mike Merriweather, second year out of the Pacific, and Gary Dunn out of Miami of Florida, the nose tackle.
It's a good idea, though, Jim. The execution wasn't good, but the idea was, as you look at Buffalo leading New Orleans 7-0.
15-yard scoring strike, Ferguson to Jerry Butler.
But in order to take the pressure off a quarterback, and certainly the Pittsburgh Steelers put pressure on him, you must do things like screen and draw. The Tampa Bay Bucs have not used a draw in the last 4 or 5 weeks, as far as I can recall. It was a good call.
Theo Bell to the right side, slot to the left with Carter and Kevin House. Interestingly, Jimmy Giles, a big target, number 88, is not in there. Thompson, here come the Steelers. JT unloads underneath, looking for Melvin Carver out of the backfield. That's what you try to do, is get the back one-on-one with a linebacker, but nothing doing. Good coverage again by Mike Merriweather. Thompson now will have to put it up again. 4th down, and the field goal team trots out. So Capice is going to have a busy afternoon.
Again, the offense unable to capitalize and get it into the end zone. They have one field goal and might get another one here, but still a touchdown will put the Steelers on top. You got to capitalize, especially when you're 0-8. Try to get out in front, try to get some momentum going. Tampa Bay Bucks have been unable to do that on offense.
You see what Capice has done between the 40 and the 49. This will be spotted by Tyler at the 39, a 49-yard try by Bill Capice, the longest of his career, 48 yards against Dallas. He made it by about the width of the pigskin. Bill Capice from 49 yards out, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have 2 field goals. The Steelers have some penalties and 1 fumble. 6-0 Bucks on top.
New York strikes first against Dallas, and they go to their tight end, big Zeke Mowat from Jeff Rutledge. The Raiders burned the Cowboys with this play, and Mowat is in. It's 7-0 Giants. Back to Jim Kelly.
Jim Kelly and John Dockery, welcome back to Three Rivers Stadium here in Pittsburgh. 7:02 left to go in a scoreless first quarter for Pittsburgh. Bill Capice kicks off for the 3rd time. 1 to start the game. He's had 2 field goals. Henry Odom to the 10. Not much more than the 16-yard line. Johnny Ray Smith, 2nd year out of Lamar, made the tackle. Well, you know, Don Shula, the Dolphin, says the best way to quiet a home crowd is with a long, sustained scoring drive. Tampa Bay has not had that, but they have put 6 points on the board, Doc.
And Tampa Bay has to rely on that defense now to shut down the Steelers and hopefully get the ball back in good position for the offense. They've been able to do that so far.
Halloween weekend. Who'll get the trick and who'll get the treat? Number 32, Franco Harris, gets the ball, and blocking over the right side by Donnelly and by Ilkin and by the veteran Mike Webster. Finally, Scott Brantley wrestled him down, but not before the NFL's 2nd all-time leading rusher had barreled his way forward for a pickup of about 7 yards. Back to the scoreboard around the NFL today. The St. Louis Cardinals up on top against the Minnesota Vikings. Early at Busch Stadium in St. Louis, a 9-yard pass from Neil Lomax to Pat Tilley. Cardinals trying to rebound from that horrendous effort on Monday night.
First down for Franco Harris. He comes into the game with 610 yards rushing, Jim, but the interesting statistic is that he's earning all of those yards. His longest run since 1981 is 16 yards. So Franco Harris is doing it the hard way. Last week he carried 31 times for 132 yards against Seattle. He is the workhorse. He has to be productive if the Steelers are to move the ball.
5th in the AFC in rushing. Number 32, Franco Harris. Abercrombie, top of your screen. Slot to the left with Capers and Sweeney. Franco around the right side again. Hauled down from behind by Hugh Green. Having a homecoming of sorts here at Pittsburgh.
Hugh Green, I mean, you talk about the great linebackers in the NFL like Lawrence Taylor. Hugh Green with that great mobility. Watch it from the backside, right in the middle of your screen. He reads the play. He comes right down the line, doesn't waste any depth, catches Franco Harris from behind for very little gain.
Now, we talked to Hugh yesterday in the hotel. He said, really, we've got 3 different teams here. The way the offense, the defense, and the specialty teams have not been playing as one unit. To the left side, Calvin Sweeney. Capers wide right. 2nd and 10 for Stout. Sets up the screen. Misses his man. Abercrombie was wide open, and Stout just overthrew him. Scott Brantley was closer to the ball than Abercrombie.
And boy, that's something we heard in Tampa Bay last week when we were there, the booing. Cliff Stout getting a little of it early from his hometown fans. Perhaps the memory of Terry Bradshaw still in their mind. And here, take a look. When 6-0 the Steelers are, when Stout throws less than 30 passes, one Steeler official told me we must run the ball on the ground. If we can't do that, we're not sure if we can win.
You know, you talk about Cliff Stout playing in the shadow of Terry Bradshaw. He has been the quarterback through all 8 games, 6-2 record atop the AFC East. They'll put it up here on 3rd and 10. Looks over the middle, now goes sideline right, and got his man. First down, Pittsburgh. Up near the 40-yard line, Greg Garrity running interference. Wayne Capers came up with a catch, the rookie out of Kansas, a number 2 draft pick. He just turned it inside.
And Stout is more of a timing quarterback. He doesn't have the great arm of a Terry Bradshaw. Here he sets himself. He waits for Capers to come inside. Capers emerging. They say he has the potential to be another John Stallworth. Same size, same kind of speed, same kind of fluid movement, good hands.
Abercrombie, big block around the right side, finally wrestled out of bounds, but watch the block by number 73, Craig Wolfe, the guard, 4th year out of Syracuse. Steelers love to trap. Boy, he threw a great block.
They are one of the best at trapping in the history of football. There you see the block. Here Abercrombie dances outside. Of course, he's got that good speed to get outside. A nice balance to Franco Harris running up the middle on the traps and off tackle. Abercrombie with the speed to break it outside. Abercrombie
came in 76 carries, 297 yards, 2 touchdowns, his longest 50 yards, so he does have explosive speed. 2nd and 5 from the 45. Stout set the Steelers down. Sweeney left, Capers right. Franco dives to about the 46-yard line. Leroy Selman, Dave Logan stacked him up. Elsewhere around the National Football League today, we go back to our scoreboard. And the Cardinals have scored again. They now lead 14-0, a 4-yard run by Stump Mitchell. So the Vikings having some problems getting on track early. Houston looking for their first win. They'll play Tampa Bay later this year in Houston. They've scored against the Browns. Gifford Nielsen, a 14-yard pass to Mike Renfro. Speaking of passing, Cliff Stout out of the pocket, dives across the 50, and dives for a Pittsburgh first down. Scott Brantley was hanging on. Of course, Stout has carried 41 times for 223 yards. He averages about 5.5 yards a carry, and Cliff has rushed for 2 touchdowns. We talked about living in the shadow of Terry Bradshaw. Cliff told us yesterday, look, I'm a different kind of a quarterback. Terry comes in, he looks for the big play. Bradshaw liked to score in about 2 plays. He said, I'm more of a precision passer. I like a quiet, controlled kind of a drive. And he also said, when I have to run, I will do it. You saw his stats there. 2nd in rushing for quarterbacks in the NFL. Franco Harris. Oh, is he hammered down? No gain at all. 2nd and 10. Dave Logan, who told us yesterday he still wants to learn how to master his nose tackle position. I'll tell you what, I think he might have just graduated. How are things doing between the Giants and the Cowboys, you ask? 21-yard scoring strike. Danny White to Tony Hill. They're deadlocked 7-all. Scores and highlights with Brennan Irv at halftime, plus legends of the game. If I say to you, practice, 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 who do you think of? Paul Hornung. Who else? Besides yourself. Stout. Incomplete. You can't get any more open than Benny Cunningham down at the 30-yard line, and Stout knows it. But Stout could also feel John Cannon, number 78, breathing down the back of his neck. It obviously distracted him. He threw a poor pass. He did have receivers open. And you talk about Danny White throwing a touchdown to bring Dallas back in that Giant game. Stout told us yesterday, talking about the shadow of Terry Bradshaw, she says, you know, Danny White in Dallas will never be considered a great quarterback until he wins a Super Bowl. He'll always be in the shadow of a Roger Staubach. Same thing with me here. Until I take this team to the playoffs and maybe further, they'll always talk about Terry Bradshaw. Cliff Stout, by the way, calls his own plays about 80% of the time. They have that much confidence in his ability. He can run if he wants to. He wants to go up top for Sweeney. Sweeney in the end zone. Intercepted, penalty flag. Let's check the call. Beasley Reese, the former New York Giant. I think that's offensive interference against Calvin Sweeney. Beasley Reese was in an excellent position. Everyone remembers him at number 28 for the Giants. In his 8th year out of North Texas State, he had good position. He was playing the middle of the field. He was free to go to the ball right there to make the interception. A ball, John, that Cliff Stout knows he never should have thrown. He could have run for the first down around that left side. Instead, he elected to throw into double coverage, and Beasley Reese, the former New York Giant, comes in to anchor that patchwork secondary of the Buccaneers. You know what? This young man has got a sporting goods company. He sells asphalt. He's got everything going in New Jersey. And look at that hug from Wayne Fonts along the sideline. They're happy to have Beasley.
Pass interference, 85. Decline. Touchback. First down this way.
Melvin Sweeney, number 85, is going on the deep post. Stout buys himself a lot of time here. That's something he can do because of his mobility. He sets himself up right now, and he could have run for the first down, you're right, but instead throws it up. Beasley Reese is inside, makes the interception.
A fumble and a pass interception, and the Steelers trail at 6-0 to the winless Buccaneers. 0-8 coming in, glad to escape Tampa Bay. They've got 3 straight on the road, and they're not easy ones. Melvin Carver, 5'11", 215. Lauren Taves on the tackle, 11th year out of California. Philadelphia coming back against the Colts, a 45-yard pass. Harold Carmichael to Mike Quick. So Jaworski hands it off. Carmichael tosses one to Quick, and the Eagles are back in that one. You know, talking about Jaworski, he came out of Youngstown State. He and Cliff Stout have a lot in common.
They sure do. And Cliff Stout, I mean, talked about what he's learned. He's been booed some here in Pittsburgh, so is Jaworski. That's a learning experience, just as Jack Thompson has learned how to deal with those boos.
From the 25, 2nd and 5, Tampa Bay, double tight end, Jimmy Giles, Jerry Bell, quick pass, got his man, that's Gerald Carter, and he's got a first down for the Buccaneers. Mel Blount, 14th year out of Southern, in pursuit, but that was the best ball Jack Thompson's thrown all afternoon.
And Jack Thompson has to settle down. I think one of the problems, and John McKay alluded to it in some of his quotes, he said this quarterback, in any quarterback situation, you take 3 steps forward, you take 1 back. You take 2 forward, you take 2 back. It's a gradual thing. And Jack Thompson, he's worried about his confidence level. Had a bad game last week, threw 3 interceptions, was sacked 7 times. And as a quarterback, you better have a large ego and the ability to forget what has happened in the past. He's worried about Jack Thompson.
Theo Bell, Kevin House deployed left and right. Double tight end, Jerry Bell, 82, Jimmy Giles, 88. And this is James Wilder, the tailback, and he doesn't get back to the line of scrimmage. That's what you call in the grasp of, and control of Jack Lambert, 10th year out of Kent State.
And what can you say about Jack Lambert? 8 straight Pro Balls, and really the character of the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. It gets so, and you feel that with this Steelers defense. They're gaining momentum. They all believe that they're as good as Jack Lambert. They can play as well as him, and I'll tell you what, they've been playing that way for most of the season.
It is not true that Jack Lambert eats nails for breakfast on game day. 2nd and 11, Tampa Bay. They lead 6-0. Jack Thompson throws this one in the vicinity of John McKay. Intended for Jerry Bell, but much better the young quarterback do that than force the football. You know, everybody in Tampa Bay's got a solution. He walks around town, people suggest plays. One fan down in Tampa Bay said, the reason you're having some problems, Jack, you're not in the union. You haven't paid your union dues.
And Jack just laughed. He said, well, maybe I should. Anything might help.
Tampa Bay 1 out of 3 in 3rd down conversions, looking at 3rd and a long 10 right now from their own 30-yard line.
And that's just how they've been all year long. They've been averaging 33% on 3rd down conversions.
Nickelback defense in there now for the Steelers. 4 down linemen, they're coming. Maybe 2 yards for James Wilder, but a punting situation in the home crowd. The 91st straight sellout here at Three Rivers, rising to the occasion again.
Now, Jim, there are probably some people at home saying, why did he run in that situation 3rd and long? But what you try to do, and it is a trend in the NFL this season, is that you try to run against a defense that's set up to defend against the pass. Try to attack the weakness of the defense and maybe break it for a first down. Tampa Bay was unsuccessful, but I think the strategy was okay.
Frank Garcia, rookie out of Arizona, averaging about 42 yards a kick, and he's had a busy season. Back now deep for Tampa Bay. Paul Scansey, the return man, number 81. You're looking at him there. Too much time against the Buccaneers. They didn't have 11 men out there at first, and they finally got him out there a little late getting set.
Those kinds of things you just can't let happen. Melvin Carver was on the sideline. Yes, he's playing. He's starting for the first time in about 6 games, but still, he should be heads up. He has special teams responsibility.
Delay the game. Offense.
You waste 5 yards.
Scansey, the rookie out of Washington, now moves up to his own 30-yard line, anticipating Garcia's punt. Try to set the Steelers up in good field position. 1:03 left to go. It's been a scoreless first quarter for the AFC Central leading Steelers. Low line drive kick. Scansey backs up to the 28. 35. Looks for a block and goes down at the 34. Ed Judy, linebacker with great speed from Northern Arizona, a 44-yard kick for Garcia. Coming up next, it's doubleheader Sunday here on CBS Sports. The Rams, led by Eric Dickerson, 5-3, trailing the 49ers in that the NFC West. And Don Shula's Dolphins, another outstanding rookie, Dan Marino.
What a running game the Rams have. Eric Dickerson, almost 1,000 yards in the first half of the season. You have to wonder if he'll catch O.J.'s 2003. What a great running back.
Quick handoff, Franco Harris around the right side. He beats number 51 around the corner, Ed Judy, but Judy finally chased him out of bounds. Franco ran out of room.
And you talk to the people here in Pittsburgh, and they say, has Franco Harris lost anything? And they say, yes, maybe a little of his quickness, maybe a little of his speed, but Franco tells me that running is pure instinct. And there, he showed some of it. He bounced inside. He got outside for some extra yards, still showed enough speed to get around the corner.
Got to be a running play because Franco barely bent down in the huddle. Lions up big against the Bears. That's kind of a grudge match going on there. 21-yard pass, Hipple to Jeff Chadwick. Steelers looking at 2nd and 8. Stout, hurry up. Got Sweeney. Now he's going to run with it. And goes out of bounds at the 40-yard line. Still 5 yards shy. Chased out by Beasley Reese, the veteran, 8 years out of North Texas State.
Interesting situation for a defensive back. Beasley Reese caught between two problems. Should I stay back and cover, or should I come up and try to make the tackle on Stout? Played it very well. He handed off the receiver to another defensive back, came up and forced Stout out of bounds.
There is truly one of the gentlemen in all of sports. On the left, Art Rooney, the owner of the Pittsburgh Steelers, out here at practice yesterday. As all the Steelers came out of the tunnel, they all came over, shook hands, said, "Hello, Mr. Rooney, how are you?" Slot formation to the right side, 3rd and 4 for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Inside handoff, Franco Harris. First down, Pittsburgh at the 46. Beasley Reese in pursuit, and a penalty flag thrown from way across the field.
And a very late penalty flag thrown as Franco Harris sensed that he couldn't get outside for the first down and get around Beasley Reese, decided to cut it up, got past the first down marker, and we have a face mask against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Not flagrant, just 5 yards.
Defense face mask, number 43. First down.
Beasley Reese here, reaching back inside, getting Franco's face mask. Let's go of it. It's not flagrant. It's one of those things, a defensive back, you try to grab anything you possibly can.
Cliff Stout, wide receivers to the left and right. Sweeney left, Capers right. Backs are split. Abercrombie along with Franco Harris. Play action. Looks like it fell over the back of Franco Harris. Hugh Green will get credit for the sack.
And he ought to, because he just pushed Franco Harris right into Stout. That's amazing strength, and Stout comes up limping. Take a look at Hugh Green. On the right side of your screen, he's on the blitz. Franco Harris, not one of your great blocking backs in the NFL. That's never been his job. Meets Hugh Green. Hugh just says, wait a minute, get out of my way. Knocks him back into Stout. He gets his sack.
You know, you talk about blocking backs, and Franco had a couple here at Pittsburgh that were simply outstanding. Rocky Blyer does television here in the Pittsburgh market now. And, of course, Frenchie Fuqua. That's the 3rd sack by the Buccaneers. And it's back the Pittsburgh Steelers up 24 yards. The Bucs have 2 field goals. The Steelers have nothing.
CBS Sports coverage of the National Football League is sponsored by Toyota's new cars and trucks for 1984. Toyota invites you to see them at your local dealer. And by Old Milwaukee and Old Milwaukee Light. It doesn't get any better than this.
Jim Kelly and John Dockery, welcome back to Pittsburgh's Three Rivers Stadium, the 91st consecutive sellout here in Steel Town. 2 field goals by Tampa Bay's Bill Capice from 26 and 49 yards out, leading the Bucs to that 6-0 advantage. 2nd and 17 from the 44, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Slot to the left side. Abercrombie wide to the right. Cliff Stout unloads to Franco Harris down at the 45-yard line. Ed Judy, 2nd year out of Northern Illinois, hanging on. It is Halloween weekend, and some of the folks here in Pittsburgh have come appropriately attired. Let's go back to the scoreboard around the NFL today and find out what's going on in that Eagles-Colts game. It remains 7-3. A Carmichael pass to Mike Quick and a field goal for the Colts. They're in the second quarter as well. Also not enough 7-all, the Giants and the Cowboys. And Buffalo has just scored again against the New Orleans Saints. They lead 14-0. The Cardinals 2 touchdowns as well. And the Falcons get a field goal and a touchdown. On 3rd and 15, penalty flags all over the field. Loose football. The Bucs say they've got it, but this will take Ben Dreith a while to straighten out.
There's also penalty flags, and from the looks of the way Leroy Selman was jumping up and down, he felt he was being held by an offensive lineman from the Pittsburgh Steelers. We'll wait till the referee sorts it out.
A Steeler got up off the bottom of the pile with the football. Now Ben Dreith will separate the officials and have a bit of a conclave. Webster fell on it, 10th year out of Wisconsin.
Holding, offense, 66. Decline the penalty. It's 4th down.
Peterson on Leroy Selman. What a long afternoon. Ted Peterson, the 7th man out of Illinois. Watch the left of your screen. We'll see if we can get a look at it. Leroy Selman, of course, number 63, rushing. Hard to get a look at it here. Franco catches the ball, turns upfield. The ball just flips out of his hands. Webster rolls over, gets his paw on the ball and pulls it in.
Faced with a 4th and 14, the Steelers will punt from their own 47. Craig Colquitt again averaging about 42 yards a kick. Low snap.
Oh!
Tampa Bay inside the 30-yard line. Robert Thompson, the rookie out of Michigan.
You hear the boos in the background. The fans watching down in Tampa Bay know what that's about. Bad snap. Colquitt couldn't get a handle on it. He actually had time to pick it up and kick it, but he couldn't get it. It bounces. I guess he never played shortstop. He couldn't pick it up. Tampa Bay recovers. They're in good field position. They lead here in Pittsburgh.
This offense would get untracked. It might be worse.
This is the way it's been all year long. As you look at Pittsburgh, 3 turnovers, fumbled the ball twice, threw 1 interception, and this is not a team that fumbles the ball that much. They've only lost the ball 11 times on fumbles. They've already done it twice here today, Jim.
Just inside the 30-yard line of the Pittsburgh Steelers, you see now the Cowboys have gone back in front of the New York Giants. A 15-yard scoring strike from Danny White to Tony Dorsett. 14-7, Cowboys on top over the Giants. The Bucs lead here 6-0. They've got the football, and barreling down just inside the 30-yard line was James Wilder. Tempers flare down at the 29. That's Keith Willis, 93 out of Northeastern, getting into it with Kelly Thomas, the rookie out of USC.
And sometimes when you're 0-8,
frustration abounds. Certainly the offensive team is more frustrated. They haven't played that well. A lot of people blame them for the 0-8. And that time, 2 big boys, Kelly Thomas, 6'6", 270 against Willis, who tips the scales at 265. Godzilla against King Kong. John McKay wants to know what's going on down there.
John McKay, in his 8th year at Tampa Bay, 24th year as a head coach.
Personal foul on Joe Priest.
I guess it's safe to say it's not a very popular call here.
John McKay has just yanked Kelly Thomas and inserted Dave Revis, Gene Sanders, Steve Wilson, George Yarno, and Glenn Bujnak are your offensive line now for the Buccaneers. 2nd and 10 from the 30, and good luck getting this play off. Carter to the left side. Kevin House, top of your screen. Bucs jumped off sides. Steeler defense able to tee off. Free play. Jimmy Giles looked like the man that jumped offside, the tight end from the right. Offside against the Buccaneers. It'll back them up 5 more yards. Bring up 2nd down and 15.
Ben Dreith, when he gets this unsorted, he's had more airtime than either one of them.
Right. But it's almost like a rerun of last week.
Offside, offense 88, decline a penalty. It's 3rd down.
Jimmy Giles probably had trouble hearing the starting count with all the noise here in Three Rivers Stadium. Jumps off sides. I was just going to say, Jim, it's like a rerun of last week. The defense gave the Bucs so many opportunities. They didn't capitalize on it. Yes, they were leading 14-0 early against the Saints. They did lead 21-10, but they weren't able to put the nail in the coffin. Same kind of thing here this afternoon.
Interesting play call by Chuck Noll, relying on the defense. They keep the down box moving. 3rd and 10. Jack Thompson. Here comes Pittsburgh. Incomplete. Looking for Kevin House. And Jack Thompson had to unload that quickly. They had the blitz on that time, pressured by Keith Gary, but also coming in was number 41, Sam Washington, second year out of Mississippi Valley, and Jack Thompson just didn't have a prayer.
Washington had a clear run at the quarterback. I thought Jack Thompson stayed in there pretty coolly to get the ball off. Kevin House couldn't get his hands on it.
That last kick by Bill Capice, his longest field goal against the Pittsburgh Steelers this year. Now he's going to try it out of the hold of Andre Tyler from 47 yards out. High snap, and it sails wide to the right. Tyler did a good job to get it down, and Capice went over and patted him on the back. That was a mix-up between the center, who snapped it a little bit high. So the Steelers have 3 turnovers. The Buccaneers have 2 field goals. We've got 13:34 left to go. The Steelers have no points.
Number 1 until they met Notre Dame. Now the Panthers want revenge, plus other regional
Weekend, but he looked like that at the hotel last night. Pittsburgh Steelers trail 6-0. 1st and 10 from their own 29-yard line. Franco Harris, convoy right side. Across the 35, picks up 5 tough ones with John Cannon and Leroy Selman hanging on. You know, it was so interesting to get a chance to talk to Franco yesterday at the Steeler workout. I mean, we're talking about a man who is 2nd on the all-time NFL rushing list and needs about 760 yards to supplant the great Jimmy Brown. He said, look, I still want to learn how to improve. I still think I can be better.
That was amazing that he said he thought he could be better physically, because you tend to think of a guy who's 33 years old, has played in this league for 12 years, figured that he reached his physical peak. Franco doesn't feel that way.
Wide receivers both left and right. Frank Pollard, first down for the Steelers across the 40-yard line. Former Baylor Bear in his 4th year, 5'10", 218. Scott Brantley was hanging on. Pollard came in with 61 carries, 251 yards, and averaging about 4 yards. Watch the blocking on Leroy Selman.
Number 66, Ted Peterson, blocking on Selman, gets a good hold, occupies him before Selman finally gets away from him to make the tackle on Pollard, who's averaging over 4 yards a carry. You hear about Harrison Abercrombie, you don't hear much about Pollard. He's a good back, especially as a blocker.
Pollard and Franco are split. 1st and 10 from the 43. Pollard again, right side. Got that one all on his own. Maybe picked up 3 very tough yards because the hole was sealed off very quickly. Jeff Davis, Scott Brantley hanging on. Davis 2 weeks ago had 18 solo tackles. Ask him how he felt after that game. He said sore and tired.
2nd down and 6.
Saw that shot of Pollard, number 30. He used to wear number 44 for the Steelers. Changed his uniform number this year. Capers wide to the right side. Sweeney left. Stout will put it up on 2nd and 6. First down, incomplete. Had the first down yardage, but what a hit put on by Mike Washington. Out of Alabama, 6'2", 200, came over to the Tampa Bay Bucs in a trade with the Colts back in '76. He was like a train wreck there.
Boy, did he hit Pollard just as he was catching the ball. He couldn't hold on. 3rd down and about 7. This is a good Tampa Bay defense. They've had their problems, especially early in the year. They were excellent, but then they faded a little bit against teams like Green Bay. Now they're back playing some excellent defense the way they did last week against New Orleans.
Tampa Bay has been outscored in the first half by a 134-60 margin, yet they lead the Pittsburgh Steelers 6-0. Stout intercepted by Brantley. Penalty flag comes down as well. That is the 4th Pittsburgh turnover in the first half. We've still got 11 and a half to go, and Brantley comes up with the INT. Let's check the penalty flag, though, with Ben Bright.
Down by 3. 1st and 10, Tampa Bay ball. All 37.
If it holds, Jim, it'll be the 4th turnover, as you mentioned. He was intending to pass for Calvin Sweeney. Looks like it's against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let's take a look at it again. Franco Harris comes out of the backfield, curls over the middle. He was hoping number 52 dropping back would bite on Franco coming across. He doesn't. He drops back, picks it off. Brantley, and here comes the call. It's on Sweeney. He has a hold of Brantley's face mask.
The ball, as you saw, was thrown badly behind Calvin Sweeney. So now with 11.5 to go, the Pittsburgh Steelers trailing 6-0. Pittsburgh has had 2 fumbles and 2 interceptions. The Bucs have 2 field goals by Bill Capice from 26 and 45 yards out. Pittsburgh has 4 turnovers. A little reminiscent, though, of last week, John Dockery, because there were 6 turnovers that the Saints committed, and yet Tampa Bay could only capitalize and score on 1 of those.
Exactly. The pressure's on Jack Thompson to do something with his offense. He's still trying to get that running game going with James Wilder, but eventually he's going to have to put the ball upfield, as I said earlier in the tease, and put some points on the board through the air. This Steeler defense is too good to run the ball down their throats.
Wilder rambled around that right side, time remaining in the first half. It's been all Tampa Bay's defense doing the job, picking off 2 cliff-stout passes, forcing 2 fumbles and recovering both of them. And of course, coming in, Pittsburgh was one of the top teams in the plus division in the takeaway giveaway department, but you never know it so far in the first half. 2nd and 5, Thompson. James Wilder. He barrels into Pittsburgh territory, and from here appears to have that first down for the Buccaneers. Next Saturday, the NCAA Today, the Pitt Panthers. We've got a bunch of former Pitt Panthers here. Hugh Green, Dave Logan going up against the Fighting Irish. And then the inside track perhaps to the Sugar Bowl, the Bulldogs of Georgia against Florida. Other regional action, it all starts at 3:30 Eastern time, and of course it starts with Brent Musburger and the NCAA Today.
Pittsburgh Notre Dame should be a good one. Both teams 6-2, both victors yesterday.
Wilder now 14 carries, 45 yards. 1st and 10, Tampa Bay from the 47 of Pittsburgh. Carver wanted to throw a block and got a little anxious. It'll cost the Buccaneers 5 yards. Lambert in there in the middle. Adger Armstrong. Adger Armstrong, 46, the man with the motion.
Adger Armstrong getting anxious, number 46. You see the left of your screen, wants to get in to make that block. No good, though. Penalty. Adger Armstrong, in fairness to him, just got in the game. Melvin Carver started. Armstrong last week started his first game, so there's shuffling in the offensive backfield of the Bucs as well.
Offense, illegal motion.
Armstrong in his 4th year out of Texas A&M, free agent.
John McKay, interesting, he talked about the offensive line and who was going to play. He talked about the lottery. He said, we're going to have a lottery, and the losers will start in the offensive line. Of course, McKay, the master of the one-liner.
1st and 15 for the Buccaneers from their own 48 now. Steelers showing blitz. Coming at Thompson. He unloads, looking for Theo Bell. Incomplete for the former Pittsburgh Steeler, down at the 22-yard line. The veteran, 14th year out of Southern. Mel Blount back there on the coverage. Let's check some scores. Vikings coming back against the Cardinals, now trailed by a touchdown. Bud Grant not wasting any time to throw out the game plan and go back to the air. Bears get a field goal against the Lions, 45 yards from Bob Thomas. Bum Phillips and the New Orleans Saints having a rough afternoon. Of course, Buffalo humiliated by the New England Patriots 31-0 a week ago, and the Colts get their second field goal from 40 yards out by Raul Allegra. Carmichael, a touchdown toss to Mike Quick. The only scoring for the Eagles, the point after by the barefooted boy, Tony Franklin. 2nd and 15 Bucs. They lead 6-0. Great catch by Jerry Bell, the tight end, on a badly thrown ball. It was high and to his wrong side. Mel Blount was back there in the coverage, ground level as if you're Mel Blount.
This is a nice athletic, acrobatic grab. He spins around, puts his left hand up. Watch Jerry Bell right here. The ball is poorly thrown. Spins around, pulls it in with that left hand. Good reception, but it's still, Jim, 3rd and about 9 to go.
Time remaining in the first half. Really a big play right now early for the Pittsburgh defense as well as for Tampa Bay's offense. Houston up big against the Cleveland Browns. Houston looking for that first win, as is Tampa Bay. So you've got 2 teams that are 0-8, and they're both winning in the first half. Again, tempers flared. Steelers jumped off sides, but let's check Ben Bryant and see if they were perhaps drawn off sides.
Jim. It looked like Gene Sanders coming up too soon. It was probably a pass play. He was thinking about getting into his set. He pulled up too soon, thus the penalty.
Start 74.
Third down, 13.
Again, that makeshift offensive line of Tampa Bay. When the game began, they were looking at their 8th different offensive line in 9 games for that man, John McKay. Slot formation to the right side for Jack Thompson. 3rd and 14. Nickel defense now for the Pittsburgh Steelers. 4 down linemen, and here they come. Batted up in the air, incomplete. That was batted up by number 65. That is Tom Beasley out of Virginia Tech. He stands 6'5". 3rd-round draft pick. Watch Keith Gary applying the pressure.
Sanders is pulling up, trying to block him. Gary goes inside on an in-tackle game. Oh, watch the pressure he gets on. Thompson stands in there, throws the ball, but it's batted down by Beasley.
The rookie out of Washington, Paul Scansey, is back deep. Frank Garcia will boom it away. Steelers have the return on. High spiraling kick. Scansey. Loose football. Tampa Bay's got it at the 11-yard line. Johnny Ray Smith. First down for the Buccaneers. They lead 6-0, and unbelievably, after that 41-yard punt, that's the 5th turnover that the Steelers have been guilty of in the first half.
What a good play by Johnny Ray Smith. He got down there, actually, watch, see him right there. He's waiting now. Scansey, good concentration. Ball just bounces off his fingers, hits his body. Johnny Ray Smith turns around, finds the ball, and says, yes, a Halloween treat. And boy, what good field position for Tampa Bay. They must take advantage. That's the 5th turnover for Pittsburgh. The Tampa Bay Bucks have been unable to capitalize. They only have 6 points on the board, Jim. Now's the time to put a touchdown in the end zone.
Whistle before the snap. Let's check the call again with Ben Dreif. Before we do, though, you know, we were out there in that exact same spot yesterday watching the Steelers work out where Scansey fumbled the ball. And in fairness to the rookie out of Washington, he was looking right up into the sun, because as we watched...
Start offense 74.
74 again, that's Gene Sanders again. As we were standing watching Colquitt doing the punting practice for Pittsburgh, we were watching him sail a couple away. We looked up into the sun, so that's what Scansey had to fight. But he is one of the sure-handed punt returners, not the game breaker.
Exactly right. That's Chuck Noll's philosophy. Let's not make a mistake there. Let's get the sure-handed guy, maybe not the speedster who will break it away. Sanders is coming out of the game. Of course, a couple of penalties in a row there. He's having his problems. Look at the penalties already. 7 for 40 yards for Tampa Bay. Pittsburgh 2 for 11, but turnovers, the real story of the game. 5 by the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Dave Revis, 9th year out of Arkansas, replacing Gene Sanders. That's a very big penalty for this man's offensive unit.
31.
Ben Dreif again. He's going to have his own radio show.
Right. Is he on the payroll for CBS?
Again, though, Tampa Bay has been outscored in the first half by a 134-60 margin. The Bucs have scored 30 points in the first quarter, 30 points in the second quarter over 8 football games. So figure it out. James Wilder gets the penalty back in the grasp of Jack Lambert. Tampa Bay only averaging just over 7 points in the first and second quarter.
But look at the strength of James Wilder, 6'3", 225, taking the ball here. Jack Lambert will come from the right side of your screen. See him right here, good mobility.
4 yards.
Grabs on to Wilder. Wilder still showing that leg strength, drags Lambert for a few yards, sets up a 2nd and 10 situation.
Wilder last week, when we talked with him before the New Orleans Saints game, said he really was looking forward to coming in here to Three Rivers Stadium and playing against a man that he has idolized, Franco Harris. He said, we asked him, who do you think you most resemble? He said, well, there's this guy in Pittsburgh. This guy is only number 2 on the NFL all-time rushing list. Motion by Kevin House, top of your screen. Quick throw by Thompson unloads. Incomplete. Looking for Kevin House. He tried to turn it outside. Down there in the coverage was Dwayne Woodruff, 5th year out of Louisville.
It was good coverage. Wise for Jack Thompson to throw it away. One of the problems that Thompson has had is he's thrown 7 touchdowns, but along that line he's thrown 14 interceptions. That's certainly the quickest way to kill a drive. That time wisely threw it away, couldn't complete it against good coverage.
Jack now 3 out of 11 for only 17 yards. Looking now at that 3rd and 11 situation, and if the steel curtain defense can dig in and hold, looking at a Bill Capice field goal try.
Looking at another missed opportunity for Tampa Bay.
Exactly, and that's what cost them the Saints ball game last week. Motion Kevin House, top of your screen. Thompson looks underneath. Got Carter, and Carter gets hammered down at the 10-yard line. Rick Wood, second year out of Boise State. He looked like a pile of concrete when he put that hit on.
The trademark of all the Pittsburgh Steelers defenses throughout the last 15 years has been hitting and physical. That's the byword. Rick Wood showed you a piece of that right there. What a hit.
Bill Capice, who's been very busy both on kickoffs and field goal attempts here in this first half, out of the hold of Andre Tyler. Hash mark to the near side. Tyler will spot it down at the 17. It will be a 27-yard try. You see Bill 2 for 2 between the 20 and the 29. This time the snap was good. The spot was perfect, as was Capice's kick. 3 field goals by Bill Capice, a 9-0 lead for the 0-8 Buccaneers, who come into Three Rivers hoping to escape with their first win. They lead 9-0. 0-8 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Steelers, as the Saints did last week, said they're far from an 0-8 football team. They sure don't look it. They lead 9-0. Capice kicks off. Timmy Harris hangs onto the football. That's been the Steeler problem. Breaks it big. Robert Thompson, the rookie out of Michigan, but not before he picked up some huge chunks of yardage across the 35. They'll start 1st and 10 from the 38. Doc, take another look.
If you're going to be a good kickoff return man, you have to deal with kickoff returns by reckless abandon. That's what Thompson does. You watch him. Breaks up field and almost breaks it all the way right there. Except for Robert Thompson making the tackle on Tim Harris. Good return by Tim Harris. Good field position.
A 32-yard return. Calvin Sweeney wide to the left side. Capers out to the right. Backs are split. Abercrombie and Franco Harris. Deep drop by Stout sets up the screen to Abercrombie, but the Bucs didn't buy it. Great defensive play by Leroy Selman. He stayed at home. Doubleheader Sunday here on CBS. Following this game, the Los Angeles Rams and the Dolphins of Miami. And you'll see 2 great rookies, John.
And rookies who have to be at the midpoint of the NFL season, the leading candidates for Rookie of the Year in their respective divisions. Of course, Eric Dickerson leads the NFL in rushing with 995 yards. Dan Marino, the highest rated passer in the AFC.
Those of you in Fort Myers and Fort Pierce, Florida, will see Green Bay and Cincinnati. Slot formation on the left side. 2nd and 10, Steelers trailing 9-0. Batted up in the air, incomplete. John Cannon, the man that batted the ball loose, and the Steelers and Stout are going nowhere.
Cliff Stout, a big quarterback at 6'4", 220 pounds, doesn't get the ball batted away that often. But this time, John Cannon gets his hand up, his right hand, and makes the play. John Cannon, of course, 6'5". When he puts his hand up, he's got to be up around the 9-foot level, so tough to throw over those big defensive linemen.
From the 37 of the Steelers, Pittsburgh looking at 3rd and 10. 6:57 left to go. It's been a scoreless first half for Pittsburgh. Stout needs 10. Badly thrown ball, incomplete. That one just slithered off his fingertips. They were running a post pattern. They had almost double coverage. Mark Cotney was closest to it, number 33, but also Scott Brantley in the vicinity, along with number 51 for the Bucs, Ed Judy.
Jim, the feeling in this game is so important, the momentum. That time, the Tampa Bay Buc defense rose to the occasion after the Steelers got a good run back by Harris, good field position. They weren't able to move the ball, so Tampa Bay still has that momentum, all important in this football game.
Greg Colquitt back to do the punting. Andre Tyler, 6:54 left. Tampa Bay leads 9-0. Colquitt bangs a beauty. A spiral. It backs Tyler up to the 12, 15, 20, across the 25, and down in the grasp of a couple of Steelers. David Little, 3rd year in there on the tackle, 3rd year out of Florida. We've got a 9-0 Tampa Bay lead. The Steelers are scoreless. Chuck Noll's going to have a lot to talk about at halftime.
He sure is. Can you imagine if the Bucs had converted every one of those miscues, the 5 by the Steelers, into touchdowns? It would be 35-0. Instead, it's 9-zip. And the pressure is on that man, Jack Thompson, to move this offensive team.
1st and 10 for the winless Buccaneers. They'll keep it on the ground. James Wilder blocked by Adger Armstrong around the right side, and the tackle by number 64, Edmund Nelson, in his second year out of Auburn. 6'3", 270, number 7 draft pick. It has not been solid. The defense has. The offense has committed 4 costly turnovers, 1 by the specialty team. But again, Tampa Bay's problem last week against the Saints, 4 Kenny Stabler interceptions, 2 fumble recoveries, and only Jeremiah Castile, who picked off the snake and went in for the touchdown, put any points on the board. So the Bucs offense not able to capitalize, even though their defense is doing the job. 2nd and 9. Wilder again. Blocking left side. Barrels across the 30 up near the 33. Robin Cole, the 7-year veteran out of New Mexico, in there on the tackle. Feeling among some of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, particularly among the coaching staff, that they were snake bit, that this team was kind of voodooed with the evil eye. In fact, Wayne Fontes, who's been with John McKay for 14 seasons, he called it the Maloik.
The Maloik, yes, the Maloik, which simply means that if something bad's going to happen, it's going to happen. It is the evil eye, and that's the way it's been for Tampa. When you start losing, well, it's hard to turn it around.
Lots of pressure on that man, Jack Thompson. You could see it in his eyes as we talked with him at the hotel yesterday. He shouldered much of the responsibility for the loss to the Saints after a poor game. James Wilder, 17 carries, 57 yards, hurdles his way across the 35, and if they give him forward progress, that should be enough for a first down. Greg Best, the rookie out of Kent State, free agent for the Pittsburgh Steelers, up there to make the stop. You can see what Tampa Bay's offense has not done.
They are the worst offense overall in the NFL. They have not been able to rush the ball. They only average 70 yards a game against a defense which is first against the rush. So a little bit of a surprise here today, looking at Tampa Bay being able to run the ball against this fine Steeler defense.
Wilder again. Maybe 2 yards, brings up 2nd and 8. Gary Dunn, 7th year out of Miami, in there on the tackle. Now, interesting, you're going into a shell a little bit here. You have reasonably good field position, about 4.5 to go. We haven't seen them really throw the ball to Giles. We haven't seen Kevin House involved. Last week, you and I both thought they were trying to swing the ball out of the backfield to Wilder too much, and that was their passing offense. Do you think they'll open it up at all?
They have to, Jim, because this is too good a defense, and they will put points on the board eventually, either by a defensive play or on the Steeler offense.
Bucs looking at 2nd down, a long 7. James Wilder at the 40-yard line, maybe picks up 1. He's got 19 carries now for 61 yards. You know how long it's been since the Buccaneers have had a rusher for over 100 yards?
I think it's been at least 2 years, Jim, and last week he had 64. But I think one of the most revealing comments made all season long by John McKay, and it was way back, right before the Detroit game, was that, you know, our quarterbacks will not lose football games for us. So he kind of went into the season with a negative attitude. Of course, Doug Williams is no longer the quarterback. It's now on the shoulders of Jack Thompson.
2 out of 8 the Buccaneers are on 3rd down conversions. Slot formation to the left side. Here come the Steelers, 4 down linemen. Down goes Jack Thompson. The Steelers come up with a sack. Penalty flag thrown by Ben Bright, the referee. And let's check the call. Might be holding against number 68, George Yarno, in his 5th year out of Washington State. Keith Willis just had his 11th sack. He's in his 2nd year out of Northeastern, number 93. And what a find for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's another free agent.
They declined the penalty, but give credit to this Pittsburgh Steeler defense. Last week against Seattle, they were awesome. In the first half, 3 sacks, 3 turnovers. Jim Zorn only completed 1 pass for 8 yards. Of course, Dave Krieg rallied them some in the second half. Steelers still won that game, holding on to win it.
The last time Garcia punted to Scansey, he fumbled the football. It led to Capisa's 3rd field goal. Scansey looking up into the same sun again. The rookie out of Washington backs up at the 23-yard line. Hangs on, picks up 3 yards on the return. Penalty flag is down again. The Bucs and the Steelers are having a real physical game down there, and tempers are flaring at the 25-yard line. Norris Thomas made the stop on Paul Scansey, but let's check the call with Ben Dreith, the referee. A 45-yard punt and a 3-yard return. It'll be 1st and 10 for Pittsburgh, but from where, Ben Dreith will have to tell us. Illegal block will back the Steelers up again. Steelers have done nothing on specialty teams to enhance their 9-0 deficit. Steelers starting now 1st and 10. They've got all 3 timeouts left, and they've got 3 minutes on the clock.
Above the waist on a run back.
Let's see if we can see it, Doc.
Let's take a look at it again. Yes, right here. And looks, it's on Johnny Ray Smith. You see number 22, he's being blocked above the waist from behind. That's the call.
3 minutes even left to go in the first half. Let's check in around the NFL today. The Cowboys up big now after the Giants had led 7-0. The latest score, a 37-yard field goal. Speaking of field goals, the Cardinals got another one from Neil O'Donoghue. And the Lions. Saints trying to come back against Buffalo. All the scores and highlights with Brendan Irv and NFL Control in New York at halftime. Plus legends of the game on Paul Hornung. Slot to the left side. Stout, play action. Looks to the left side. Wide open. Was he inbounds? Up at the 27-yard line, Calvin Sweeney. That's a great grab.
Sure is. He knew exactly where the sideline was. Instinctively, he knew. You can't look down and see where your feet are going to land. Calvin Sweeney knew where it was. His feet came down inbounds, according to the official. So it's a first down. We're going to take another look at it and see if we can see. Right here, watch Sweeney. He goes up for the ball. See how the lean of his body, very, very close. Hard to see from that angle whether 1 foot was on the white line or not.
Sweeney came in, 19 catches, averaging about 16.5 yards and 2 touchdowns. Stout will put it up, comes back over the middle, and misfires looking for Wayne Capers. Stout has had problems going over the middle. He missed a wide-open Benny Cunningham before. This time Capers on the post pattern, and concern written all over the 15-year coach of the Steelers, Chuck Noll. The Colts coming back. Trail Philadelphia by 1. They're approaching halftime there at Veterans Stadium. And the Oilers still looking for their first win. A touchdown better than the Browns at Municipal Stadium. John McKay also looking for his first win this year. After an 0-26 beginning when the franchise was formed, they're looking at an 0-8 year right now. Stout looking at 2nd and 10. Lots of time. Wide open is Capers. First down for the Steelers near midfield. The rookie out of Kansas, Mark Cotney, hanging on.
You can see the development of Cliff Stout. He looked to one receiver, couldn't find him. Looked for another receiver, he was covered. Finally came to Capers. Watch the coolness. Of course, his offensive line is giving him time on this particular play. Look at Webster in the middle there. Right here, looks, can't find a man. Calmly comes back, sets himself, and delivers the ball on a clothesline for the completion.
You know, John, in talking to several of your coaches here at Three Rivers yesterday, they said the biggest improvement in Cliff Stout as a quarterback, his ability not to telegraph who his primary receiver is, his ability to look off the primary, and that is the maturing of Cliff Stout since he's been handed the quarterbacking job for the injured Terry Bradshaw.
Tom Moore was delighted with his development. The first few games of the year, the first 4, he threw 7 interceptions. The next 4, he only threw 1, and he was looking defensive backs off, as you said. So he's coming on. That completion to Walter Abercrombie.
They'll bring the chains out from the far sideline and see if Abercrombie picked up the first down. Again, it's Halloween weekend here at Three Rivers Stadium. First down for the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's been a scoreless first half, enjoying their best field position right now at the 41-yard line. But again, 5 turnovers against the Steelers, and certainly halted anything they might have been able to muster offensively.
But you can't expect the Steelers offense to continue turning the ball over. If you're Tampa Bay, you have to be wondering when are they going to open it up, and they're doing it right now. You get the sense that Stout is going to air the ball out and try and move his team upfield for that touchdown before the half.
Sweeney left. Capers right. 5 seconds left before the 2-minute warning. Stout will work on that clock. Looks underneath. Benny Cunningham. Walter Abercrombie was over there, but the ball was thrown actually between Abercrombie and Benny Cunningham. That only took 4 seconds, so they'll get one more play, then they'll get a free timeout. Steelers have all 3 timeouts remaining.
You mentioned it before of Tampa Bay leading here 9-zip. And it's almost 3 different teams. That's what happens when you're losing. You become a team divided. Yes, the defense is playing well, but you have to wonder what's happening with the offense. Is the special teams going to perform this week or not?
Double tight end alignment now. 89 is Cunningham, 87 John Rogers. Slot to the right side. Sweeney inside, Capers outside. Motion on the offensive line, and Cliff Stout didn't like the defense. He saw the Bucs were coming with a blitz, He takes a timeout. That's a very costly timeout, John, when you're 1 second away from a free one at the 2-minute warning. 3 Bill Capiz field goals, 5 Pittsburgh turnovers. That's our first half. Tampa Bay leads 9-0. Brought to you as a public service by the National Football League and Steve Wilson, number 50, the veteran center of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Costly timeout taken by Cliff Stout right there. Had a free one coming with just one more play. We approach the 2-minute warning. Capers to the right side. Sweeney left. The backs are Walter Abercrombie, 34. Franco Harris, 32. Stout looks at 2nd and 10. The draw play to Franco Harris. Smothered down at the 40-yard line. And now the 2-minute warning. If he took a timeout to call that play, it was even more foolish than we thought.
Franco Harris not exactly ripping up the first half. He only has 26 yards in rushing. The Steelers only have 55 yards total rushing, 58 yards passing. So they've been having their problems. Besides 4 turnovers, Jim, 2 fumbles and 2 interceptions, they're having their problems offensively.
How are things at the NFL control? Dallas now leads by just a field goal. The Giants have scored. Of course, the Cowboys are 7-1. The Giants are 2-5-1. Cardinals have gone up again against the Vikings. Big surprise there. St. Louis 2-5-1. Minnesota leads the NFC Central 6-2. Colts on top again against the Philadelphia Eagles. Baltimore, very surprising, 4-4 in the AFC East. Meanwhile, the Eagles are 4-4 in that NFC East. And coming up on November the 12th, we've got a special edition of Sports Saturday for you here on CBS Sports. Scotty Hamilton leads a very special performance of the top world figure skating champions. Then we'll have World Cup aerobatics, and John Madden, Doc, will take us on a world you know all too well.
Yes, actually, John's going to be dealing with the heartbreak of some of the athletes who have gone through the NFL, have come out and had their disability problems. Guys like Jim Otto and Dick Butkus, Cheryl Hendrick. And it's interesting talking to Joe Namath not too long ago. You know, his knee problems are well documented, and he was waiting to see what Jim Otto does with his knees before he eventually does something with his scarred knees and arthritic knees. So it should be an interesting John Madden on the road, John Madden's journeys.
3rd and 9 for Stout and the Steelers. They've done nothing offensively. Needs 9 for the first down. Won't get it. Didn't even get back to the line of scrimmage. Leroy Selman, all-pro, all-world, maybe all-universe out of Oklahoma in his 8th year. The Bucs' first-round draft pick in '76, and Booker Reese, a fellow we had a chance to talk to at the hotel yesterday, in his 2nd year out of Bethune-Cookman, asked him the mood of the team. He said almost one of disbelief.
That's generally the feeling. You know, what do we do to turn this around? What do we do to break this 0-8 scheme? Well, they're doing something today, but it's been all defense. I don't know if you can hang on with just defense. They weren't able to do it last week. They weren't able to do it in previous weeks.
Steelers letting the clock wind down. Tampa Bay does not take a timeout. Colquitt, low spiraling kick, goes for the coffin corner and nails a beauty out of bounds at the 3-yard line. A 37-yard kick. That one was not for distance, that was for direction.
Sets up an interesting situation, Jim. Now the Steelers actually might get a shot at the ball, having the ball back again, but they used that one timeout. Remember Cliff Stout just before the 2-minute warning? There was confusion. As you look at the comparative, look at James Wilder, 19 rushes, 61 yards. Playing against his hero, Franco Harris, has only rushed the ball 9 times for 27 yards. Interesting, though, when you said that to Franco Harris about James Wilder, he said, you know what? It makes me feel old.
That good shot of James Wilder, the leading ball carrier, the leading pass receiver for the Buccaneers. Be careful time now, and they'll play it that way. Wilder, knife down, maybe got back to the line of scrimmage. 1:04 left to go in this first half. It has been all Tampa Bay's defense. They've forced 4 turnovers, 2 fumbles, 2 interceptions, and 1 on specialty teams when Scansey dropped the ball, recovered, led to the 3rd Bill Capiz field goal, 9-0, and that's where we are. They don't look like an 0-8 football team.
They certainly don't. And the Pittsburgh Steelers call a timeout. Never a team to let an opportunity pass by. Pittsburgh wants to make Tampa Bay do something down there. Hopefully they'll get a turnover, maybe create a fumble.
Quite a scene right there. Jack Thompson on the left and John McKay on the right. McKay, quoted in the papers this week, is saying it is now time for Jack Thompson to assert himself as the quarterback. We have done just about all we can do. He is a little bit fearful that the booing back in Tampa Bay is going to shake his confidence a little bit. He said it's, well, John told us in the hotel yesterday, he said the coach came over and he said, are you a man or are you a mouse?
Exactly. He wants to get that pride from Jack Thompson. And actually, Jack Thompson has an excellent sense of humor. And it says, you know, it's interesting. I come into the huddle, and these guys really don't know me as a person. I'll say something when the booing is cascading down on me. I say, wow, fans in Tampa really do love me. And all his offensive linemen will look at him like, what, are you crazy?
Well, he was glad to see 77 come in there, Bujnak, because they played together in Cincinnati. He looked around that offensive huddle. He didn't know anybody.
Finding a friend is important on the football field, especially for a quarterback.
2nd and 10. Wilder will not fumble the football, only hoping to use up some time. Steelers take a timeout again.
Interesting, though, Jim, picking up on that note with Jack Thompson and John McKay. John McKay, despite last week putting in Jerry Goldstein for one series, said that Jack Thompson is my quarterback and will be my quarterback. Of course, he gave up a #1 draft choice to Cincinnati to get Jack Thompson.
Well, he was fearful, as we said, that fan reaction might prevent Jack from reaching his full potential because he has such excellent practices. You talk to the Bucs, they said, we had a great week of practice, maybe the best practice we've had, even including before the Dallas game. So they were very enthused. Coming up at halftime, scores and highlights with Brendan Irv from the NFL Today in New York. Legends of the game, the golden boy out of Notre Dame. That could only be Mr. Horning.
The golden boy, the triple threat, forerunner of guys like Joe Namath, that lifestyle, fun and football combined. Paul Horning at halftime.
We talk about James Wilder, who came in with 69 carries, 233 yards, and a 3.4 average, and 3 touchdowns, 2 of them last week against the Saints. He has now carried 21 times in this football game. That is more than he's carried in one game in his entire career. 64 yards. And we've got 30 minutes of regulation to go for that young man. He is running like his idol, Franco Harris. 3rd and 7 for the Buccaneers. Wilder again. Steeler defense stiffens. They held him inside the 10. Garcia will punt it away, but the Steelers are out of timeouts.
And boy, would they like to have that timeout. They wasted back. They will get the ball back. The Tampa Bay Bucs will have to punt. There's 40 seconds left. Be interesting to see if they actually let the clock run down, take a 5-yard penalty.
I don't think you take a 5-yard penalty when Garcia is standing 7 yards deep in the end zone.
Not this deep in your end zone. He'll try to wait till the last second. There are 8 seconds left, so he'll wait for that last second and then kick it away. 8 seconds left on the clock.
Scansey is back. A beautiful punt by Garcia. He backs Scansey up 12 yards. Scansey will try to get out of bounds, dives for it at the 47. Chased out in the grasp of Scott Brantley in his 4th year out of Florida, who doubles on the specialty teams. A 53-yard kick, and the Bucs needed that one from Frank Garcia, a 7-yard return. So Cliff Stout will have just 11 ticks left to go on the clock to try to work it down into field goal range. He has got the arm capable of throwing it into the end zone. He throws a different kind of a ball than a Bradshaw. Cliff throws it 60 yards in the air. Bradshaw can throw it about 75. It just arrives a little differently.
It's a difference in velocity. Tom Moore telling us yesterday there are few quarterbacks that can throw the ball as well as Bradshaw. Maybe Burt Jones. Stout has a strong arm, but certainly not as strong as Terry Bradshaw.
Abercrombie right, slot to the left. Sweeney outside, Capers inside. Stout looks like he wants to go up top and go big. Airs it out. Looks for Capers. Capers intercepted at the 3-yard line. The 6th turnover, the 2nd of the game by Beasley Reese, the former New York Giant. 2 seconds left to go on the clock. Judy congratulating Beasley. The ball hung up there a long time. John Dockery explained Bradshaw with a big ball can throw it almost 45, 50 yards on a rope. Cliff Stout with a good arm, but not the velocity of a Bradshaw. Hung that one up. Capers looked like he had his man beaten, and Reese came over from the free safety spot to pick off his 2nd of the game. So you can obviously expect Tampa Bay to just plunge into the line and run out the clock, leading 9-0.
That was just a Hail Mary pass. He's waiting. He's hoping for some kind of a tip, some kind of a strange play where his receiver might come up with the ball down in the end zone. Really kind of a meaningless turnover when you look at it. But Tampa Bay Bucs obviously happy to have Beasley Reese, especially with Cedric Brown out of the game.
Jack Thompson, you can see the one-man deep in case there's a miracle of the Meadowlands like the Eagles and the New York Giants. Kevin House was back there almost as a double tailback spot. There have been 6 Pittsburgh Steeler turnovers. 3 Bill Capiz field goals. 9-0. The 0-8 Buccaneers on top over the Steelers. Scores and highlights. Legends of the game with Brennan Erb coming up at halftime next. We're back to a sold-out Three Rivers Stadium in Pittsburgh. The 91st consecutive sellout. The crowd starting to come alive as they strike up the Pittsburgh Steeler polka. And I've done a couple of the AFC championships from this very stadium. And the weather has been a little bit chillier. They've struck up this tune, and the folks have been rocking and socking in the aisles. You look at first half statistics, not exactly an offensive explosion in the passing department, Doc.
Certainly not. 15 yards passing for Tampa Bay, 35 for Cliff Stout and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Really even, this has been a story of a defensive struggle. 6 turnovers by the Pittsburgh Steelers. Tampa Bay defense playing excellent defense, and that's really the reason. But Pittsburgh defense also playing well, only allowing 3 field goals after Tampa Bay had terrific field position.
Well, how about the rushing, though? Look what Tampa Bay has done, and you're talking about the leading rushing team in the AFC, the Pittsburgh Steelers. By comparison, Jimmy Wilder, 22 carries, 67 yards. That is more yardage for Wilder alone than the entire Steeler team, who's got just 56 yards. Franco Harris, 9 carries for 27. Michael Morton, number 1, specialty teams player extraordinaire, back deep, along with Johnny Ray Smith, who has a fumble recovery. Gary Anderson, second year out of Syracuse, will tee it up for the Steelers from the 35.
And in what we said earlier, one Steeler official told us if they can't run the ball, they could be in trouble.
High but short end-over-end kick. Michael Morton at the 8, 15, 20, explodes to the 25, to the 30, to the 35, loses the football. The Steelers have the football, but there's a penalty flag back at the 25-yard line. Now they say Tampa Bay has got it back at the 36. Let's see if Michael Morton recovered his own fumble.
It looked as though Michael Morton squeezed under there to come up with the ball. Pittsburgh Steelers unhappy about that. Morton makes a good play to get the ball back. A good return, but we do have a penalty.
Ben Dreith and his officiating crew have had a busy afternoon. It's been a mistake-filled football game for both sides. This will negate an excellent run back by Michael Morton. All the way back at the 16.
Above the waist, number 54 on the run back.
Richard Wood, the linebacker out of USC.
So Jim, on one hand, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have stayed away from the costly turnover, something that's haunted them all season long. But on the other hand, they've had a lot of penalties to short-circuit drives.
First and 10, Tampa Bay. Wide receivers left and right from their own 16. They lead 9-0. James Wilder. Big hole left side, barrels to the 21. Blocking over that left side for Tampa Bay by Gene Sanders and George Yarno.
Part of the reason that Tampa Bay said they wouldn't have much trouble getting up for this game was the mystique of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Of course, we all remember their 4 Super Bowls in the 70s. They were voted Team of the Decade in the 70s. So that's kind of a motivation for any team. Even an 08 Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who leads 9-0 here at Three Rivers Stadium.
Barry Dunn in his 7th year out of Miami of Florida, limping over on the Steelers sideline. 64, Edmund Nelson, second year out of Auburn, takes his place at the nose tackle. John Goodman remains out, and his place has been taken by Keith Willis. So the Steelers having some holes on that defensive front. 2nd and 5, Buccaneers. James Wilder around the right side. First down, Tampa Bay. Ricky Woods, second year out of Boise State, chased him out of bounds, but James Wilder had some first half, and he starts off as he ended that first half, picked up right where he left off.
And you have to wonder if James Wilder will ever go back to fullback, even when James Owens returns. He's having a great day, and he's helping to eat up that clock and keep the ball in the control of the Tampa Bay Bucks.
Hey, he's only 22 yards away from becoming the first Buccaneer in 2 years to rush for over 100 yards. James Wilder.
The all-around back. He catches the ball out of the backfield so well, blocks, runs.
9 catches last week for 50 yards for Tampa Bay. First and 10, Bucks. They lead 9-0. James Wilder this time gets hammered down after a short pickup of 1. Tom Beasley, 6th year out of Virginia. Robin Cole in his 7th year out of New Mexico.
You can bet Jack Lambert. Interesting, yesterday when we were talking to Wilder, he said, yes, I'm playing against my hero, Franco Harris, and also against another legend, Jack Lambert, and I plan to run by him. I said, you have the nerve to run by a legend like Jack Lambert? Yeah, why not?
Carter out wide to the left side. House to the right on 2nd and 9. Thompson. Kevin House missed him wide open. Donnie Shell was back there on the covering. You know, Kevin House has yet to catch a ball in this football game. His first reception as a pro came when the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers renewed their rivalry. This is only the 3rd meeting. House made his first catch of his career, a 26-yarder, back on the 9th of November back in '81 when Pittsburgh prevailed 24-21 in Tampa Bay. The first meeting between these two teams, the Bucs would just as soon forget about. That was back on December the 5th at '76 when John McKay brought his battered and bruised expansion Buccaneer team here to Three Rivers, and it was 42-0 Pittsburgh. On 3rd and 9, the draw play, and James Wilder will try to fight for first down yardage, but he'll be about 3 yards shy. He approaches the 35. He needed to get up to about the 37.5 in the grasp of Jack Lambert. Garcia, there's what he's done so far this afternoon and his season average. Paul Scansey with 1 fumble is back deep. Steelers now dropping 2 others back in kind of a short zone. Beautiful kick by Garcia. He bangs a beauty. Scansey at the 22. Penalty flags are down from the far side. Scansey is down on the near side at the 26. A 44-yard kick, a 2-yard return. Richard Wood down there in the coverage. The Bucs specialty team playing very well, much more in tune, much more intense than I think we saw last week against New Orleans.
So 2/3 of their team is playing well. The specialty team and their defense playing outstanding football. The offense still having problems. Jack Thompson, only 5 completions out of 14 attempts for 23 yards.
Preliminary call by Ben Drott. Still, though, the way the Pittsburgh Steelers defense has been playing this season, I think it's been almost a standoff. Tampa Bay has moved the ball on the ground.
Number 31 on a receiving team.
But the Bucs' problem remains the passing game, which just has not got on track all season long. 12:54 left to go here in the 3rd quarter. Pittsburgh is scoreless. Gentlemen, in all of sports, he waited a long time, over 40 years, for the first championship, and then he had 4 of them almost in a row.
One of the most admired and loved men in sports in America came by the booth and said, you know what? We've been lucky this year as a team. We don't have Bradshaw, a quarterback who made things happen.
4 Super Bowls for the Steelers in 6 seasons. Cliff Stout on first down. Can run out of the pocket. Now he's running for his life. He'll scramble to about the 20 and pick up 2 tough ones. 2nd down and 8. Dave Logan, former Pitt Panther, a bit of a homecoming here in hot pursuit. What did he have? 44 tickets for friends and relatives, he told us?
Oh, yes. He said it was approaching 50.
Logan, Tampa Bay's 12th round draft choice back in '79, a native Pittsburgher, a graduate of Peabody High School. Last year, Tampa Bay had 5 former Panthers on their roster, but Larry Swider, the punter, and wide receiver Gordon Jones, now a Los Angeles Ram, waived in the preseason, and linebacker Cecil Johnson on the injured reserve list with a back injury. 2nd down, 8 yards to go. Franco Harris, right side, the hole closed off very quickly. John Cannon, the first to get there and seal it off. Franco in the first half, 9 carries, 27 yards for a 3-yard average, and his longest was 10.
Talking to all the people around the Pittsburgh Steelers, they said, yes, if we can't run the ball, we might have problems. And we said, well, can Cliff Stout bring your team back if you're down late in the game and need to score in a hurry? He said, you know what? We don't know that yet because we've never had to do it.
3rd and 5 for Stout and the Steelers. They trail 9-0. 5 defensive backs deployed by the Buccaneers. Stout looks to the right side, got a flood formation, got Franco open, doesn't go to him, goes to Capers at the 35, Capers to the 40, first down for Pittsburgh. Hugh Green in on the tackle. A 17-yard pickup, watch from the end zone, it's Stout.
Stout takes his time, he's looking downfield. All good quarterbacks have vision here. He comes back to Capers, he looks off the defensive back for a big completion and a first down. Remember talking to Tom Moore yesterday, he said the good quarterbacks have that vision. He said Stout does not have it yet, but it's starting to come, and there you saw an example of it.
He wanted to get the ball to Capers, though. That might be a bad sign if he's starting to force it, because underneath you saw he had Franco Harris for a very short gain, but then Franco can run for it. Play action. Wide open. Benny Cunningham. First down. Back-to-back first down passes by Cliff Stout. Hugh Green and Jeff Davis hanging on, and that brings the crowd alive. A 17-yard pickup followed by a 25-yard gain.
The fake makes this play. They fake the trap to Abercrombie. He stands up, finds Benny Cunningham, all 6'5", 260 pounds of him. He rolls for a first down.
Sweeney with 1 catch, Abercrombie with 2, Franco Harris with 2, Capers with 3, and now Cunningham with 1. Stout, third straight pass. Cunningham again, down to the 30. Loop, but now the Bucs have it back. Now it's fumbled again. Mad scramble on the far sideline, right in front of Tampa Bay's bench. Hugh Green was over there. Tampa Bay has the football. Scott Brantley forced the fumble. Hugh Green picked it up. Then he fumbled the ball out of bounds, and I think Hugh got it back. The former Pitt Panther, the 7th turnover by the Steelers.
A big hit right here causes the fumble. Brantley calls it. Hugh Green comes by, picks it up, perhaps thinking about those 2 other recoveries that he had, that he ran for touchdowns, 2 interceptions. They get it back in good field position.
Watch the hit by Scott Brantley, and then watch number 53, Hugh Green, carry that pigskin like a loaf of bread.
Brantley makes the hit. Hugh Green comes by, picks it up, says, yeah, I'm just going to the store. He's lucky the ball rolls out of bounds. Tampa Bay gets it back. Green just gets it before it goes out of bounds. 7 turnovers for the Pittsburgh Steelers. That is the story of this football game.
First and 10 for the Buccaneers. They lead 9-0. They're looking for their first win of this 1983 season. Wide receivers left and right. The backs are in the I formation. Play action out of the backfield. Thompson completes it to James Wilder. Play action, but the Steelers weren't fooled, and Thompson scrambling for his life back there. The 7 turnovers that John alluded to equals the season high for the Steelers. They had 7 turnovers against the Denver Broncos. They ended up losing that game. It was their first of the year, 14-10 to the Denver Broncos. They came back and beat Green Bay in Green Bay, 25-21 to even their record. Then they knocked off Houston, 40-28, and they lost to the Patriots, 28-23. Then they were 2-2. As you watch James Wilder, and that's really where Chuck Noll thought the turning point of the season was. That's where the team had to come together and decide what they were going to do with the season.
You know, Jim, when you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, yes, they are 6-2, and yes, they have been on a 4-game roll. But you look at the teams they've beaten Houston, who is winless twice. They've beaten Cincinnati and Cleveland. So 4 of their 6 wins for Chuck Noll's Steelers have not been against the toughest opposition.
Interesting to ask Chuck yesterday if he has changed his coaching at all, because the mood of the team has changed. Bradshaw gone, Swan retired, Stallworth out. And he said the personality is a changing personality. I'm a changing kind of a coach. I like to think I can adapt. Thompson, wide open out of the backfield. Jerry Bell. Jerry Bell down out of bounds inside the 35-yard line. Wilder.
Wilder, great speed out of the backfield, one of the best receiving halfbacks in the NFL, just beats the defensive player right there. Greg Best trying to cover him. Wilder makes a big first down and one of the few good pass plays for Jack Thompson. Gary Dunn, one of the fine defensive linemen, a nose tackle for the Pittsburgh Steelers, out of the game with a knee. But in truth, Pittsburgh has a lot of depth on that defensive line. They have Willis, they have Gary, Beasley, Goodman, Nelson, so they're okay.
From the 32, pitch back. This goes to Melvin Carver. He slithers forward to about the 30-yard line. Jack Lambert grasping on. Asked Jack Thompson yesterday about Melvin Carter. He said he's kind of like a Timex. He just keeps on ticking. Around the NFL today, let's check in some scores. Giants have come back against the Dallas Cowboys. A 27-yard field goal. The Vikings are down 17 points at Busch Stadium. Lions romping over the Chicago Bears. And the Falcons demolishing New England. Boy, the Patriots, last week 31-0. They blew out Buffalo, and now they can't get on track. Saw the Colts on top against Philadelphia. On 2nd and 8. Wide receivers left and right. James Wilder. Conboy's right. Tripped up. Might have fallen over the back of one of his own linemen. Edmund Nelson in hot pursuit, along with Jack Lambert. Well, we talked about scores and highlights with Brent. Brent, what's going on?
Jim, you've got the main storyline. The Giants draw even with the Cowboys, and this is how they did it. Ali Haji Sheikh nails one from the 27. That's a great name for a guy that's never been out of the U.S. Let's go back to Jim Kelly.
Okay, Brent, right here at Three Rivers Stadium, we've got a 9-0 football game, 3 Bill Capice field goals. Tampa Bay, after the 7th Pittsburgh turnover on the move, 8.5 left in the third quarter, 3rd and 5 for the throw-in Samoan. Who'll throw to James Wilder, first down Buccaneers, inside the 15-yard line of the Steelers.
And you see a smile on Jack Thompson's face and one of his offensive linemen coming by to shake his hand. It has not been much fun for Jack Thompson in Tampa. Here, one of their favorite plays. He just rolls out, Wilder out of the backfield, finds him free in the flat, makes the reception, turns upfield for that first down.
Big first down and 3rd and 5 for the Buccaneers, trying to capitalize and punch it in for a touchdown. They couldn't do it last week despite 6 New Orleans turnovers. Jeremiah Castile ran back a Stabler interception for a score, but the offense couldn't put any points on the board. James Wilder, a one-man workhorse this afternoon, showing his idol Franco Harris. He too is one of the top rushing and receiving backs in the NFL. Merriweather and Woods hanging on, and we've got Wilder. That's some hanging. 6'3", 225. And the all-time Missouri rushing leader, like a Bronco Bull this afternoon.
Second down and 3.
Second down and short 3 for the Buccaneers. And you've got to credit that makeshift offensive line right now. They are doing the job. Sander, Bouchon, Wilson, Yarno, and Thomas. Thompson might be audibleizing. Long count. Throws it out of bounds. Looking in the vicinity of Jimmy Giles. I think that was a busted play. Penalty flags are down now in the backfield of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think Thompson audibleized. I think he wanted to lateral or hand the ball off to Wilder, but Wilder had already cut outside like a receiver, so there was a miscue there on the audible.
Exactly, Jim. We'll listen to the call.
68 offense, downfield on a pass.
George Yarno was downfield on the pass because he thought that Thompson was going to run the ball or something else was going to happen. It was taking so long. He went downfield and thus the penalty. James Wilder has now rushed for over 101 yards, the first Tampa Bay Buck back to do that in 2 years. He's carried 29 times for 101 yards. And that's exactly what the Pittsburgh Steelers have been giving up per game. The Pittsburgh Steelers defense, 101 yards a game, so they're not having a good afternoon on defense.
Clock got down to 4 before Thompson called James Wilder's number. He might have changed the play call again. Rick Woods was hanging on, and you're looking at James Wilder, a career high, and as Doc pointed out, first time in over 2 years that a Buck back has rushed for over 100 yards. That's got to give that offensive makeshift line a little bit of a boost, too, don't you think?
Oh,
Go in and do that against the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Sure, patchwork orange, the lottery that we talked about earlier. The guy's losing, John McKay, the guy's losing the lottery would play. Well, they're doing a wonderful job against a very tenacious Pittsburgh Steelers defense who came into this game 3rd in the NFL.
You saw John McKay's reaction. I don't think he was very happy with that last play call. The plays are called by Boyd Dowler. James Wilder, his number gets the call again. Inside the 10-yard line, bulls his way down to the 9, 6:15 to go in the third quarter.
Interesting that Jack Thompson yesterday talked about the comfort zone. He said, yes, last week when we were leading against the New Orleans Saints 14-0, 21-10, we were out of our comfort zone. We're not used to leading in a football game. Here they're leading again. You sense it was a defensive play call there. Yes, you don't want to miss the field goal opportunity, but what about taking your shot to put it in the end zone and get 7 points?
There's what Capice has done between the 20 and the 29 out of the hold of Andre Tyler. Capice will attempt his 4th field goal of the afternoon. Steeler defense has bended, but it hasn't broken. We've got a 12-0 Tampa Bay advantage, so the Steelers now scoreless with 5:37 left to go in the third quarter will need 2 touchdowns to get back into this football game. The Bucs playing anything like an 0-8 squad. Bill Capice at his 4th field goal goes through the uprights.
And it's nice to see Bill Capice because, of course, he missed a couple last week. He missed that one in overtime against Minnesota. The Bucs lost, so Bill Capice having a good afternoon. 4 field goals, only the 2nd time in his career he's done that.
Henry Odom at the 12. Breaks it big to the 25, to the 30, down to the 33. First and 10 for the Steelers. They trail 12-0. Speaking of scores, let's check in around the NFL. Cowboys get a touchdown. They go back on top over the New York Giants at the Meadowlands. Danny White, Doug Cosby, 61 yards. Turn out the lights in Chicago. Mike Ditka having all sorts of problems with a demoralized Bears team. Atlanta still ahead 24-0 against the New England Patriots. And Houston looking for their first win. You've got two 0-8 teams ahead so far, the Oilers and Tampa Bay. From the 33, Cliff Stout backs are split, capers wide to the right side. Walter Abercrombie on the play action, swings it out to Franco behind him, out of bounds. They pick up about 4 yards.
Jim, you see Franco Harris step out of bounds there. That's one of the reasons that Franco Harris has been able to play 12 years in the NFL and carry the ball as many times as he's carried it, because he doesn't take the unnecessary hit. He knew he was going to be clobbered there, so he just stepped out of bounds. That saves your body a little bit and allows you to come back and do something later in the game, rather than being beaten up and exhausted by being pounded.
What Dick Hope, your friend from the Steelers, one of the coaches, was saying. The thing about Franco is he runs with instinct, and he's probably one of the more intelligent runners to ever play the game. On 2nd and 6, Cliff Stout. Great blocking protection, ball batted up in the air, and Franco Harris was lucky that one wasn't picked off, because they practiced that tip drill almost like a volleyball. Great block. Watch Walter Abercrombie on Hugh Green.
Abercrombie is 5'10" of 210 pounds. Green 6'2", 225. Watch this. The top of your screen, here he is. The mismatch. Does a good job on Hugh Green, though. Picks him up, gets low, the way a back should do. If you take Hugh Green on high, it's just going to run right over you.
Capers wide right, Sweeney wide left, Pollard in the backfield along with Franco on 3rd and 6. Stout straight drop, dumps it off to Pollard. Pollard's got the first down at the 47-yard line. Out of Baylor, tackled by Mike Washington, but a penalty flag dropped back by Ben Bright, the referee, at the 30-yard line. Back in the area that generally indicates holding against the offense. That's exactly what it is.
And in fairness to Cliff Stout and his statistics and his ability to move that offensive team, he's not working with a Swan or a Stallworth. He's working with Sweeney and Capers. They're missing some of their old-time talent, the big play guys.
Mike Washington, the injured Tampa Bay Buccaneer, down at the 47.
Number 73.
Craig Wolfley out of Syracuse in his 4th year. You know, it was interesting talking yesterday to that man, Chuck Noll, and asking him, can the Pittsburgh Steelers come from behind with Cliff Stout at quarterback, unlike Terry Bradshaw, who was a big play kind of man? We'll tell you his answer when we come right back. It's hurting both teams, but turnovers disastrously for the Pittsburgh Steelers, 7 of them, and 4 Bill Capiz field goals. That is Mike Washington going off. To go back to Chuck Noll, when we were talking to the Pittsburgh Steelers coach yesterday, we said, can your team come from behind with Cliff Stout, who likes to have a more organized, controlled kind of a drive, unlike Terry Bradshaw, who's a big play kind of quarterback? Chuck said, quite honestly, said, we don't know. We don't know if we can come from behind. We haven't had to do it that often, frankly.
Well, they're going to have to do it this afternoon. They're down 12-0, 5:11 left in the 3rd quarter. We're going to find out something about Cliff Stout and Chuck Noll today in the offense of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Well, I think he would look at this as a pretty good test for his young Steelers squad as well, because let's be honest, the Steeler schedule the rest of the way is not exactly lined with Dallas and Minnesota and the Raiders.
And he said, remember, we asked him about the interesting problem. If Terry Bradshaw does come back, and we saw Bradshaw on Friday, he said, Mike Washington still down. Bradshaw said, look, you know, my arm is getting better, my elbow feels good, but I'm having trouble. I have pain in my tricep muscle. And they're bringing out the stretcher for Mike Washington.
It has been that kind of a year for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Mike Washington in his 8th year out of Alabama, number 40. It has been a patched offensive line for the Bucs. It's been a patched up secondary, and it's been kind of a revolving door. We said it last week that the most valuable player might be the trainer Tom Oxley, because Tampa Bay missing 5 starters today who ordinarily would play. Guard Sean Farrell, running back Jimmy Owens, linebacker Andy Hawkins, and the safety Cedric Brown, who went down last week against the Saints, cornerback Norris Thomas. In all, 13 Tampa Bay starters have been down for a total of the equivalent of 32 games, and that includes, and this is almost unbelievable, every member of their offensive line plus 2 of their starting safeties.
Exactly. You talk about safety. Neil Colsey is not in there. He's out for the season. Now Mike Washington's hurt. Cedric Brown's hurt. Beasley Reese only here for 10 days. He's playing free safety as Mike Washington, in obvious pain, leaves the field.
10:11 to go here. A 12-0 game. The Bucs looking for their first win. Let's go to New York. Brent?
Jim, we certainly hope that Mike Washington is not seriously hurt. Meanwhile, the Giants have come back against the Cowboys. Butch Woolfolk out of the backfield. Defensive coverage mistake by the Cowboys. The linebacker lets him go free. 44 yards, but the Giants have to settle for a field goal. 24-20 Cowboys. Let's go back to Jim Kelly and John Duckery.
Okay, Brent, so the Giants' deficit is just 4. The Giants 2-5-1, trying to rebound from their poor effort last Monday night against the Cardinals at Busch Stadium. The Cowboys, of course, are 7-1, looking over their shoulder at the Redskins. Cliff Stout looking all around. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers can run for it now. He's got to turn the corner. Dives across the 38, maybe to the 39-yard line. John Cannon in hot pursuit. Now, Cannon is 6'5", 260 out of William & Mary, and he was stride for stride, step for step with Cliff Stout. Another look.
And Cliff Stout is one of the best scrambling quarterbacks in the NFL. Here he's looking downfield. Remember, he's got long yardage. His receivers are going deep. There's obviously coverage. And watch Cannon. The reason he catches Stout is that he runs a 4.840, lunges, and Stout can't pick up the first down. Great effort by Cannon.
Andre Tyler back deep for Tampa Bay. Gary Anderson, or Craig Colquitt will punt this one away on 4th and 5. Tyler fields at the 28. Hammered backwards at the 32-yard line. Craig Dunaway, the man that got there first. 1st and 10 for Tampa. They lead 12-0. Doubleheader Sunday, except in Pittsburgh and Cleveland because of the NFL home team rule. Most of you will see the Dolphins of Don Shula with their outstanding rookie Dan Marino, who leads the AFC in passing. And hey, when was the last time a rookie did that? And Eric Dickerson, the outstanding rookie for John Robinson's Rams. They will battle next, except those of you in Fort Pierce and Fort Myers, Florida. You'll see the Green Bay Packers with the equally explosive John Jefferson and James Lofton taking on the Cincinnati Bengals. 1st and 10 for the Buccaneers. They're 0-8, but they lead 12-0. James Wilder. You think maybe he'll get a game ball?
He should get a whole bunch of game ball, maybe a half a dozen. You talk about that next game, the Rams against the Dolphins, and what about Vince Ferragamo? Last week, 5 touchdowns in that losing effort to San Francisco. Of course, Marino, boy, 2 touchdowns versus Buffalo last week. Miami won 3 against the Jets the week before. We could have a passing duel par excellence in that second game here on CBS.
2nd and 7 for the 0-8 Buccaneers. Wide receivers left and right. Thompson sets them down at his own 36. Jack hands off to who else? James Wilder breaks the tackle at the 35 and bowls his way up near the 39. Lauren Taves, 11 years out of California, the first to get there for the Pittsburgh Steelers. You are looking at the parents of Gabe Rivera, the priest on the left. A tragedy here in Pittsburgh. Of course, you know the story. Their outstanding rookie defensive lineman tragically injured in a car accident. He's in a Pittsburgh hospital. There is Gabe Rivera. You talk about potential. Sometimes that word is overworked. They said that this man has the potential to be another Mean Joe Green for the Pittsburgh Steelers on defense. Gabe, we know you're watching in a Pittsburgh hospital here on KDKA Channel 2, our CBS affiliate. Best wishes from all of us at CBS Sports for a very speedy and healthy recovery. Just our best wishes to you after that tragic car accident. Gerald Carter crosses midfield for Tampa Bay, and that is a Buccaneer first down. Boy, you don't think Gabe Rivera would like to be out there and playing in this game today.
A fine young man. Mr. Rooney had Gabe's parents here on Friday for lunch, and then they watched practice. They had come from the hospital, and the Steelers, you know, their best wishes for Gabe also, trying to put it out of their mind.
Gabe's got a good friend on the Buccaneers, Hassan Abubakar. They played together, defensive lineman at Texas Tech. And he said to send his best wishes along, too. James Wilder bowls his way inside the 47-yard line. Keith Willis, Dwayne Woodruff down there for the Pittsburgh Steelers. The brain trust of Tampa Bay. Again, the plays are being called by Boyd Dowler, who is upstairs in the press box, not down on the field. For the first 8 games, I guess when you're 0-8, you try anything.
Exactly. You saw Theo Bell, the former Pittsburgh Steeler, coming in with a play for Jack Thompson. 2 minutes, 20 seconds left in the 3rd quarter.
This will be the 35th carry by James Wilder out of the backfield. Mike Merriweather was hanging on. Have any idea who owns the NFL record for most carries in one game?
I give up.
I bet you he wears the same number as James Wilder.
Not Franco Harris. Now I know. And now all of you folks know also how many carries.
41.
41. Amazing durability for Franco Harris. Incredible.
Wilder, 35 carries, 116 yards. He said that man was his idol. 3rd and 8. Big play time for the Bucs offense as well as the Pittsburgh defense. Here come the Steelers on the blitz. Thompson unloads, and Gerald Carter cannot hang on. Thompson did well just to get rid of the football.
Thompson had no time to set up and throw that ball. Incomplete, and you get the feeling, you know what, I have a feeling about this game, Jim, and I have to tell you, it's like a boxer. When you knock your opponent to the canvas a number of times and you don't knock him out, you have to wonder whether he'll get up and come back to haunt you. Now, the Bucs have had numerous opportunities, yet they only lead 12-0, and they're giving the ball back to Pittsburgh.
Garcia back to punt, Scansey back deep on 4th and 8. The Buccaneers lead at 12-0. Garcia bangs another beauty. His last couple of kicks have had airmail stamps on them. This one goes into the end zone, 1st and 10 for the Steelers, and they trail by that 12-0 count. College football here on CBS next Saturday. The Pitt Panthers, Hugh Green here, of course, the former Pitt Panther, nose tackle Dave Logan the same, up against the Irish of Notre Dame, and the winner of that game between Florida and Georgia Tech might have the inside shot for the Sugar Bowl. You and I were there for the Sugar Bowl last year. We watched Herschel do a little damage.
Herschel, but what about Notre Dame? They've won 5 straight with their new freshman quarterback, Steve Berline. That should be a good game.
It all starts, of course, with the NCAA today. Brent Musburger, Ara Parseghian, Hallback, and Pat O'Brien, of course, in New York. On 1st and 10, all kinds of time. Stout doesn't know who to throw to. He needs somebody to come back and help him out. Unbelievable! He's got 10 seconds to throw the football. Now he dumps off to Walter Abercrombie, who breaks it big. Abercrombie across midfield, down to the 40-yard line. A 40-yard pickup after it looked as if Cliff Stout would never find a receiver.
Cliff Stout must have been back there 10 to 12 seconds. I think it was 11 seconds to be exact. Finally, he starts upfield. Abercrombie comes back, makes this nifty move, and watch his acceleration right there. That's the thing that recommends Abercrombie as a receiver and a back. His great acceleration. 40-yard gain. The crowd's alive here in Pittsburgh.
Capers right, Sweeney left. The backs are Franco Harris and Abercrombie. Buck showing blitz. Abercrombie loses a yard and a half, maybe 2 yards, in the grasp of Ed Judy. Big defensive play right there for the Bucs secondary. The crowd was rising to it. You could see the Pittsburgh Steelers on offense breaking the huddle crisply. They hadn't been doing that for a while.
And we talked about the Tampa Buccaneers, the guys that are waiting for that coconut to drop off the field. Well, this is a team that expects the coconut to drop off the field, give them a concussion, fall to the ground, trip over it, roll down a hill, and then get hit by a raging rhino. Tampa Bay Bucs has that kind of mindset. They expect bad things to happen. Right now is a critical point. They must shut down the Steelers and not let them score here.
You've been waiting all game to get that in. A coconut landed on your head. I looked at a picture of you in a Pittsburgh uniform. Cliff Stout wide open. His capers, and he bounces it to him. A one-hopper.
It's all up to the Tampa Bay Bucs defense now. Capers getting a lot of time to throw the ball. Had he had a stronger arm, Terry Bradshaw might have gotten that ball in. It comes in on the bounce here. Capers has no chance. He's wide open.
Capers fields the ball like Johnny Ray of the Pittsburgh Steelers, but this is football.
Just a short hop, didn't get there. But if Stout had a little bit stronger arm, he might have been able to flick it in there. I've seen Terry Bradshaw do that kind of thing many times. Throw on the run and just flick it in.
Johnny Ray of the Pittsburgh Pirates. 3rd and 11. The Steelers are 4 out of 11 on 3rd down conversion. Stout, a big one here. Look out. Steelers got away with one. Should have been holding in the backfield. No flag. Look out. Great pursuit by Booker Reese out of Bethune-Cookman. But I'll tell you what, the Steelers were very, very lucky. There was no flag thrown because one of their offensive linemen, I mean, he was doing a mug job.
And an interesting situation now for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
No flags. And time has expired here at the end of the 3rd quarter. 4 field goals by Bill Capice, 7 turnovers by the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's the end of the 3rd quarter with a score. The Buccaneers 12, Pittsburgh nothing. Now we pause for a word from your local station. Jim Kelly and John Dockery back with you at Three Rivers Stadium, a sold-out Three Rivers Stadium. Indeed, the Steelers were amazing. In the 70s, they were the team of the decade, winning 4 Super Bowl championships in 6 years. 3 tight ends in there now for the Steelers. Chuck Noll behind, 12-0, will go for it on 4th and 2. Abercrombie in motion now, top of your screen. Play action. Stout. He's got Abercrombie. First down, Pittsburgh. And he would have gone for big yardage had he been able to keep his balance down at about the 22-yard line.
You have to like the call. Good play action fake. Abercrombie slips out of the backfield, makes the catch. And as you said, Jim, had he not fallen, he had plenty of room up the sideline. See him tap Stout there to tell him he's going by. He fakes to Harris. Abercrombie twisting, turning, finally falls without being tackled. First down, big play, big gamble by Chuck Noll.
The reason he was twisting and turning, the ball was thrown behind him by Cliff Stout. First down for the Steelers. They're down 12-0, but this place will really come alive if they get a touchdown. 14:54 left to go in regulation. Stout goes airborne.
Fumble.
But the Steelers get it back. They've already had 7 turnovers. That would have been number 8. Ted Peterson, 7 years out of Eastern Illinois, the man who luckily had the ball bounce up to him. That's just heads-up football.
Sometimes you're better off being lucky than good. Watch this. Stout starts to run. He's in a lot of traffic. The ball's knocked out of his hands, bounces right up. Is that a design play? Peterson makes the recovery. A big break for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Of course, turnovers have been their biggest problem today. They escaped the bullet right there.
Second down and 10. Sweeney wide to the left side. Capers deployed to the right. The backs are split. Franco Harris and Abercrombie. Motion Capers, bottom of your screen. Stout, state drop. Hugh Green on the blitz. Capers has got it inside the 15. Inside the 10. First and goal, Pittsburgh.
And give Cliff Stout credit. Hugh Green was all over him, hit him as he was throwing the ball. He still got the completion to Capers. Watch this. Hugh Green coming in from the right side of your screen. He knows he's there. He feels his breath hits him. Capers makes a good fingertip grab. Picks up the first down, Jim.
Capers came in with 6, make that 4 catches for 90 yards, averaging about 22 yards per catch. The Steelers looking at first and goal, and Cliff Stout, all kinds of confusion. They try to get Abercrombie off the field, and Stout's got to take a very valuable timeout. A 12-0 Tampa Bay lead, but the Steelers are knocking on the door. John Dockery back at Pittsburgh's Three Rivers Stadium. There's our situation. 4 Bill Capice field goals from 26, 49, 27, and 28 yards out, despite the fact that Tampa Bay has come up with 7 turnovers forced upon the Pittsburgh Steelers. That defense of the Pittsburgh Steelers is bending, but it hasn't broken so far, and right now Pittsburgh knocking on the door. First, make that first and goal from the 9-yard line. Capers wide to the right side, Sweeney to the left. Backs are split. Abercrombie along with Franco Harris. Stout will put it up underneath. Benny Cunningham cannot hang on at the 6. And Cunningham, John, was very lucky the ball wasn't intercepted because it was kind of up there like a volleyball for anybody's grab.
Beasley Reese was right in his face. Cunningham juggled the ball. Beasley was there to make the tackle and jar it loose. Take another look at it from the ground level. Stout takes a short drop. He wants to throw the ball right now to Cunningham. Gets it to him. Okay, Cunningham just doesn't pull it in and tuck it away. See, he juggles it right here. Beasley says, hey, wait a minute. I'm here also. Knocks the ball away.
And the former New York Giant already with 2 interceptions of that man, Cliff Stout. In his 7th year, but Chuck Noll says he's almost like a rookie. Stout, Capers, intercepted and then dropped in the end zone. Jeremiah Castile picked one off last week and ran it back against Ken Stabler. Had it in his arms, and boy, that would have been the biggest turnover of this football game.
Almost a phenomenal play by the defensive back. He gets his hand in there without interference, knocks the ball up in the air, then comes around the receiver. Looks like he's going to make the interception. Look at how easy this looks. But the ball bounces away. Oh, great play by Castile. Could have been a fabulous play if he held on to the interception. A lucky break for Pittsburgh.
That play will have a large outcome on this football game. 13:06, 3rd and goal. Slot formation to the right side. Stout looking right. can run for it. Now the pressure's on. Dumps it off to Cunningham. Out of bounds. He had number 89, Benny Cunningham, the tight end, but he threw the ball a little bit too softly, a little bit too high.
Exactly, Jim. And what pressure that puts on a defense when a quarterback can scramble from around the 9 to 15-yard range. He had tremendous pressure on the defensive backfield. Cunningham was wide open. He just threw the ball up and away. Cunningham couldn't come down in bounds. There was no chance. See him leaping there. No chance of getting his feet down in bounds. Both out.
And you saw how wide open that man, Benny Cunningham, 8th year out of Clemson, was. Johnny Rogers, the explosive second-year tight end out of Louisiana Tech, a free agent in there. 4th and 9, the Steelers will go for it. They need the touchdown. Stout can run to the left. Look at it. Now the pressure comes on. Out of the pocket. Stout, do or die time. Incomplete to Rogers in the end zone. It's easy to sit way up here and see how much AstroTurf Cliff Stout had on the left side. He could have run in all alone. He didn't see it. He threw incomplete to Rogers. They still trail by 12.
Winner, Dave.
12:49 left to go in regulation. Take a look again at big 4th and 9.
4th and 9 could be the critical play of the game. Stout had plenty of time. Dave Logan on great pursuit forces him to throw it away. Rogers, backup tight end, can't get to the ball. Tampa Bay takes over. What a big play by the defense for the Bucs.
1st and 10, Tampa Bay ball.
The frustration written all over the face of Chuck Noll in his 15th year. Slot formation to the right side. The steel defense now of the Pittsburgh Steelers will have to do their job. James Wilder chopped down. Maybe a loss of 1. Brings up 2nd down and 11. Jack Lambert in his 10th year out of Kent State. You know, when we talk with Jack Thompson, he has faced this man, Jack Lambert, again. It was his 2nd game when he was a rookie with the Cincinnati Bengals. There were about 20 seconds left to go in regulation. Thompson was in there to run out the clock. He walked up to the line of scrimmage. He peered across the line. There were the steel eyes of Lambert looking at him. Lambert said, "Thompson, I hope you're going to fall on the ball because I'm going to fall on your face."
And you saw Jack Lambert there. He's excited. He knows the Steelers are still in this game. The defense can shut down the Bucs.
James Wilder trying to get Frank Garcia a little punting room. Hurls his body across the 10 to the 11. Rick Woods.
And Chuck Noll, everybody's comparing this defensive unit of the Pittsburgh Steelers to the great defenses of Joe Green, L.C. Greenwood, Andy Russell of the 70s. But Chuck Noll told us those defenses used to shut down the opponent cold and force him to punt. This defense forces turnovers, 19 interceptions, 10 fumble recoveries. They make things happen. They return for 4 interceptions for touchdowns.
Big 3rd down play now for everybody. 3rd and 8. James Wilder. Steeler defense seals it off. Out of bounds at the 13-yard line. Dwayne Woodruff stretched it out, and listen to the crowd at Three Rivers. Lots of time left, 11:25. Steelers with 2 timeouts should come out of this with good field position. Frank Garcia to punt out from his own end zone. Paul Scansey would like to break a big one here for the Steelers. Steelers have the return on. I don't know, Doc, when you've got them backed up that deep, if you don't want to try to block the punt. Scansey at the 49 of Tampa Bay. A couple of stutter steps, bounces off a couple. You see him clutching the football. It was almost stripped loose at the 43. And the Steelers already have been victimized with 7 turnovers. We've got 11:14 left to go in a dandy 12-0 Tampa Bay, but the Steelers playing catch-up. Stout has done this afternoon almost a 4th interception by Jeremiah Castile. No harm, no foul. But when Cliff Stout has had to throw 30 or more passes, you can see what the Steelers' record is this year. They like to do it on the ground. Tampa Bay has shut it down.
And on the other side of that coin, Jim, when he doesn't throw passes, they've been 6-0 over 30 passes. That's a good completion to Abercrombie.
Scott Brantley was hanging on. Stout did well to get rid of the football. Excellent pressure that time by Ed Judy, number 51. He came right up over the middle, and I don't think Webster or Wingle or Donnelly or Ilkin or Peterson, anybody had a shot at him. He was there almost as fast as the football. They're very high on Abercrombie. They don't think that he is the same kind of a back as Franco. They would have to get a blocking back for Abercrombie. Franco gets the call. A little delay. Left side, inside the 30. First down for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Hugh Green hanging on.
Franco Harris has now carried the ball 11 times for 34 yards. Take a look at it from the end zone. A good play to mix in here. Kid Franco, hopefully he can break one. Hasn't been able to do it this afternoon. The Steeler rushing game has not been the dominant force it's been in the past. They are one of the 2 teams in the NFL to have more yards on the ground than through the air.
Sweeney left, Capers right on 1st and 10. Swing pass to Abercrombie. Needs a block, doesn't get it. Chopped down, maybe fights back to the line of scrimmage. Jeremiah Castile came up from the left corner spot. He's a rookie out of Alabama, a 3rd-round draft pick for the Buccaneers. He is going to be a good one. Franco Harris off under his own power, we are told from the Steeler bench, because of a bad leg. His son was here at practice yesterday. Franco called him what, Doc?
Doc, that's his nickname, little 3-year-old boy.
Came up and grabbed the helmet out from under him, right? From the 31, 2nd and 11. Capers right, Sweeney left. Stout audibleizing, Sweeney looking in. Stout wide open is Cunningham, inside the 20, inside the 15, close to the 10. Mark Cotney hanging on. First down, Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh knocking at the door again. Remember, 2 scores, 2 touchdowns, puts them ahead in this game. They're losing 12-zip at the moment. No fake whatsoever there, just a misdirection. Cunningham dragging across the middle in that hole between the zones, makes the catch for a first down.
Cotney, number 33, one of the 6 Buccaneers around for the 0-26 streak, mired in the middle of this 0-8 losing streak. Stout from just outside the 10. Play action, fires to Capers, touchdown! The rookie out of Kansas, 6'2", 193, a 2nd-round draft pick. They say he has the potential to be like John Stallworth. His first touchdown in the National Football League, Wayne Capers, and he paid for it. Cotney really with a hit at the goal line, trying to knock him back or force the fumble. And the Steelers have closed the gap now to within 6.
Capers holding on to that ball, his first touchdown in the NFL, as you mentioned. A big touchdown here puts the Steelers right back in this game.
Gary Anderson out of Syracuse, 22 of 23, now 23 of 24. We've got a 5-point football game. The Pittsburgh Steelers 6-2, leaders in the AFC Central. Another look at the touchdown toss to Capers.
Stout puts some mustard on this ball. He drills it right in. Capers goes up and gets it. No chance for the defensive back. The Steelers are coming back here at Three River Stadium. They trail 12-7.
Far away from winning their first game, the Steelers trying to play catch up and get back into it will rely on their defense. Over-end kick. Johnny Ray Smith fumbles the football at the goal line. Picked up by Michael Morton. He crawls forward to just outside the 10-yard line. And you don't think the steel curtain defense now is going to tee off on James Wilder and Jack Thompson. Listen to this crowd. McKay must wonder, what do I have to do to win?
You laughed about my coconut falling on the top of the head of the Tampa Bay Bucs. Here Smith fumbles the ball. What a time to fumble. Bad field position. Pittsburgh is on fire defensively.
Wide receivers left and right. Listen to the crowd. Watch the front 4 of the Steelers on defense. Thompson will put it up on first down. Fires over the middle. Got him at the 20-yard line. That could be a first down. Theo Bell, the former Steeler. How's that for irony?
How's that for Jack Thompson? It's the most confidence I've seen him have in his play call. A good play call. You have to throw the ball. If you run the ball out of there, the Steelers are going to stuff you, get the ball back with good field position. The quarterback stands up, gets a completion for a first down. A big play for Jack Thompson's confidence and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
The play sent in with the tight end. Boyd Dowler called it from upstairs. He calls all the plays, not that man, John McKay. Sometimes McKay doesn't even know what the play is.
Jack Thompson has to execute them. and he did that time. What a big play.
Steelers closing up on bump and run from the 20 of Tampa Bay. Thompson again completed. This will be at the 35-yard line. And that will be another first down for the Buccaneers. Gerald Carter, 2 straight passes on first down, 2 straight first down completions. Dallas up by 11 against the Giants at the Meadowlands. The Vikings trying to come back at Busch Stadium in St. Louis against the Cardinals. The Lions turning out the lights on the Chicago Bears. Buffalo up big against the Saints. They were ahead 24-0. And the Falcons led that game 24-zip against the Patriots. Doubleheader Sunday here on CBS. The Rams and the Dolphins are next, except in Pittsburgh and Cleveland because of the NFL home rule. First down, James Wilder chopped down, maybe fights his way back to the line of scrimmage. Second down and 10 for the Buccaneers. Hanging on with 7.5 to play. Baltimore looking to go to 5-4 in the AFC East. The Eagles in trouble. Houston looking for their first win in Cleveland, up by 6. The Oilers are 0-8, as are the Buccaneers. It was interesting talking with some of the Steelers, or some of the Buccaneers, like Dave Logan yesterday. He says, he says, I can empathize with the Oilers, but I don't want to.
I know exactly how they feel. And I know how Jack Thompson feels. Now listen to that crowd. Look at that defense. What a tough spot.
From the 37-yard line. Jack Thompson on a rollout to negate. Fires incomplete. James Wilder last week, lots of one-handed catches. That one a bit beyond his grasp. In the Steeler pursuit, Mike Merriweather. An update around the NFL. Minnesota has fallen behind. The Cardinals are unbelievable. They played so poorly last Monday night. They had so many chances to win that game against the Giants.
Of course, Minnesota playing so well, 6-2, leading the Central Division.
The Vikings, of course, will be here, taking on the Steelers the 20th of November. Will be here.
What a situation for Jack Thompson. They need a first down desperately so as not to give the ball back to the Steeler offense. 3rd and 10.
The Bucs 5 out of 17 on third down conversions. Nickelback in there for the Steelers. Pittsburgh showing the blitz. Wilder showing speed, but not enough blocking. Mike Merriweather, second year out of Pacific, and Donnie Shell, the veteran, number 31 in his 10th year out of South Carolina State. Donnie Shell, a free agent, and the Steelers defense has done their job.
Tampa Bay Bucs are in a hornet's nest. I thought Jack Thompson did well to complete those 2 passes to give his team some breathing room after the fumble on the kickoff return. Now it's going to be up to the Tampa Bay Bucs defense again.
Garcia back to do the punting. Scansey. They've got the return on again. Garcia, a beautiful kick. He backs Scansey up 8 yards, inside the 15, from the 13. Scansey needs a block. Scansey to the 30, to the 40, to the 50. One man back. Garcia. Scansey to the 25. Out of Washington, and he certainly more than atoned for that fumble that led to a Bill Capiz field goal. He broke it big.
Johnny Ray Smith took up Campbell. Watch the right side of your screen. Johnny Ray Smith, number 22, misses the tackle. That allows Scansey to get outside. He's not the swiftest man in the NFL returning, but watch a block by
Johnny Rogers.
Johnny Rogers right there. Garcia plays it well, allows the pursuit to come, make the tackle. Great position for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Whew, and they are hot. A
48-yard kick, a 57-yard return. Stout to Abercrombie, incomplete. And I want to tell you something. Number 21, John Holt, just leveled Walter Abercrombie. No way to hang on to that one.
With 6:05 left, and your team winning 12-7, the Tampa Bay Buck defense has all the pressure on their shoulders. Now, can they cause another turnover? They've gotten 7 already today from the Pittsburgh Steelers.
You know, you've got to credit the Tampa Bay defense. They have played so exceptionally well here this afternoon, but they've played well most of the season. Everybody to a man in the Buck organization, it was like a sigh of relief to escape Tampa Bay, and the fans, which justifiably have been frustrated.
And now they're in another hornet's nest with the Pittsburgh Steelers fans alive.
Sweeney left, motion from Scansey to the right side. Stout, look out, underneath, but it was Leroy Selman busting through there. And he might have got a hand on Stout before Cliff was able to release the football.
Remember Stout yesterday talking to us. I said, what about Green and Leroy Selman on your backside? He said, you know what? I can feel them. I can feel the hot breath on my neck with them coming. Here Selman gets an arm on Stout just as he's throwing the ball, throws off his balance. It goes incomplete. Stout takes a little breather on the turf. Remember last week John McKay said to his team, the defense played well enough to win. The offense did not.
Slot formation to the right side. Sweeney wide left. Stout looks at 3rd and 10. Here come the Bucks. Over the middle. Incomplete and almost intercepted again. Mark Cotney had a shot at it at the 10-yard line. It was almost like bumper pool as the ball was caroming around between receiver and defender. And Chuck Noll, he's very quick. He's not going to mess around with the decision. He says, get that field goal unit out there. 5:54 and counting.
Sure, Chuck Nutt wants that field goal because
4th and 10 from the 24. Now, we saw a fake field goal last week. Bum Phillips ordered it for the New Orleans Saints. I don't think Chuck Noll would call it right here.
I don't think so, because if he kicks this field goal, another field goal later on in the game will win it for him. They're down by 6 points.
Out of the hold of Craig Polk with the punter, Gary Anderson. Snap, spot, kick on its way. The crowd will tell you it's a beauty. Gary Anderson has now made his last 10 field goal tries here in Three Rivers Stadium. And he brings the Pittsburgh Steelers to within 2 points. Brent, we've got a dandy here. Let's go to New York and find out what seesaw battle you've got.
All right, Jim, the Dallas Cowboys with all kinds of breathing room now. It'll be Tony Hill on the receiving end from Danny White, and watch this pathetic secondary. I mean, he falls down trying to make an arm tackle. Let's go back to Jim Kelly.
Brent Musburger, the Dallas Cowboys, 7-1, trying to up their record to 8-1, looking over their shoulder at the Washington Redskins. The Redskins, the defending Super Bowl champs, they'll be out at San Diego's Jack Murphy Stadium tomorrow night, a game you can hear on CBS Radio, a game that Brent does the halftime for.
And Brent mentioned that the Dallas Cowboys coming back, getting some breathing room. You always have that feeling that the good teams are going to find some way to win. Pittsburgh Steelers are a good team. They come in here 6-2. They're looking for a way to win. Tampa Bay, with that losing mindset, 0-8 coming in, wondering how they might lose this one. It's going to be all on Jack Toppin's shoulder.
Anderson tees it from the 35. Johnny Ray Smith returns from the 3. Penalty flag down at the 20-yard line. Craig Bingham in there on the tackle defensively for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Ben Dwight, the referee, he's had a busy afternoon. The preliminary indication against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Look, you see how Ben is checking right there? He said, are you sure? Clipping against Tampa Bay. They are backing up toward their own goalpost. Time remaining in this football game.
The last kickoff return, Jim, there's a fumble in the end zone. They get terrible field position inside the 10. Now a penalty. Clipping moves the ball back again around inside the 10 again. So Tampa Bay in a terrible situation against this fired-up Pittsburgh defense.
Start from their own 9-yard line. They've got to work on the clock. They've got to pick up a couple of first downs. Now, last time, Boyd Dowler threw on back-to-back first down tries. Kevin House wide to the right side. Gerald Carter flanked out to the left. James Wilder, the lone running back. Will they throw? I don't think so. James Wilder chopped down after picking up maybe a yard and a half. Robin Cole, 7th year out of New Mexico, the first to get there. Except in Pittsburgh and Cleveland, because of the NFL home rule, most of you will see the Rams and the Dolphins. Eric Dickerson, the outstanding runner and rookie for the Rams, and of course Dan Marino, the leading rookie and the leading passer in the American Football Conference.
And what about the Miami defense, ranked 5th in the NFL? Can the Killer Bees stop Eric Dickerson? 12 touchdowns, and Vince Ferragamo 13 touchdowns on the year. Should be one dandy of a game. Just we got a dandy here too.
You saw Green Bay and Cincinnati. Those of you in Fort Myers and Fort Pierce will see that game. James Wilder out of the backfield. Oh, what a collision at the 17-yard line. Dwayne Woodruff, the first to get there. That was almost like a train wreck as well, but Wilder hung on to the football. Wilder now has equaled Franco Harris's NFL rushing record, 41 carries, 124 yards for that man. So not too bad when you come in and you get a chance to not only play against your rival, but meet him. It's the first time that Wilder will actually say hello to Franco Harris.
He's certainly saying he's outplaying him today. John McKay relying on Wilder. for the offense of the Tampa Bay. Tough situation. 3rd and 2.
3 tight ends. Jimmy Giles, Jerry Bell, Mark Whitty. Steeler defense creeping up. Play action. Wide open. That is Adger Armstrong, and that is a Tampa Bay first down. Great call by Boyd Dowler upstairs, the former Green Bay Packer wide receiver. The play action held the linebackers, froze them, and Adger Armstrong, that might be his first catch of the year.
Adger Armstrong, Jim, has only caught one other for 2 yards. Watch this. He's so excited he almost fumbles. He dribbles it around. It goes up in the air a couple of times. Finally, he holds on with a big first down for Tampa Bay. Whew.
First catch for Adger Armstrong as a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. First down for Tampa. They lead by only 2 points. Huge first down. 4 minutes left to go in regulation. James Wilder, penalty flag is down. Wilder sandwiched down. Looks like the right side of Tampa Bay's line might have jumped the count by just a second. Might be Jimmy Giles, the tight end. Looked like movement, though, on the right side. It is against Tampa Bay. This is not the time of the football game, John Dockery. You want to have these penalties.
Losing teams, watch this. We'll take a look. If we see the jump right there, the big man, Jimmy Giles, jumping off sides, tight end.
Illegal
Number 88.
motion, 88. Decline the penalty. It's 2nd down.
They decline the penalty. They want those downs. 4 minutes left. They need the ball back. Remember, Jack Thompson knows that it gives the ball back to the Pittsburgh Steelers. A field goal by the Steelers will win this game.
Saw the graphic on what James Wilder has done, setting a new NFL rushing record for a single game. He's the lone running back. Steelers are coming. Thompson scrambling. Good night, Irene. Wide open, Kevin House, and he can't hang on to the football. John McKay is in disbelief. That clipboard went almost as far as the football. Kevin House was wide open. He had beaten Dwayne Woodruff. He had touchdown all over it.
And he's disgusted, John McKay. I don't blame him for being disgusted. Jack Thompson escapes the blitz, gets some time, lays the ball up softly. Kevin House has his man beaten, just drops the ball. Further heartbreak for Tampa Bay. Oh, my goodness. And Kevin House, we talked about it, has not been part of the Tampa Bay offense. He has been a big play man over the years for Tampa Bay. There's his chance to ice this game because no one would catch Kevin House had he caught that ball.
Front page of the sports section in the Pittsburgh paper yesterday. A big picture of John McKay, and his quote was, "We do find some unusual ways to lose." 3rd and 9. Thompson needs the first down. The Steelers need the football. Kevin House again. Drops it again at the 40-yard line. A different kind of a reception, however, posed for number 89. Dwayne Woodruff was beaten again. That one would have been a great catch had Kevin come up with it.
But a chance to make up for the flub before. He might have had a chance sliding to catch that ball. He wasn't able to change his route and react and make the reception. So Tampa Bay has to give the ball up to Pittsburgh. Remember, a field goal wins it for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Garcia back to do the punting. The last time, Scansey broke it for 51 yards. Garcia will hang this one up high. Scansey fields at the 22. They've got the wall set up again. Scansey bangs into it down at the 32. Don't go away. We've got a 12-10 football game. Penalty flag down. We'll check the call again. There's your time remaining in regulation. Chances of overtime, virtually nil. 12 for the Buccaneers on 4 Bill Capiz field goals. This one's against Tampa Bay. And I would bet you that Chuck Noll would like this one to be kicked again.
Downfield, decline a penalty. First down the other way.
He's got the football at the 32, and Chuck Noll says, let's go. 3:42 left to go. All he needs is a field goal, and he's got one of the NFL's premier. In fact, the leading scorer in the American Football Conference, in Gary Anderson.
Cliff Stout has to move them into at least field goal range. Yes, he has a great field goal kicker. Let's see what he can do now. The running game has been non-productive. Passing game has come alive in this last quarter.
Sweeney left. Backs are split. Cliff Stout will go airborne quickly. Looks to the sideline. Almost. There's Abercrombie hanging on, but that was almost a wasted play. He picks up 2 yards, and the clock continues to run. Jeremiah Castile back there on the coverage. Again, the different personality of this Pittsburgh Steeler team. You don't have Terry Bradshaw, who's going to give you that 35, 40-yard reception. You don't have a John Stallworth or a Lynn Swann. What you've got are some young receivers like Calvin Sweeney, wide to the left side. And number 86 going out to the right side, Greg Garrity. You've got a young quarterback. Sure, he's been around 7 years, but Chuck Noll told us yesterday he's almost like a rookie. This time, Stout, he can run to the 40 and out of bounds at the 43. First down, Pittsburgh.
And that's where a quarterback with mobility can kill you. Everybody dropping back to cover on pass defense. Stout just tiptoes up the sidelines for the first down. And that's heartbreaking for a defense who is playing so well, covering so well, to have a quarterback scramble for a first down. This is final exam time for this young, inexperienced Pittsburgh Steeler offense.
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers have lost 6 of their 8 games by a touchdown or less. They are leading by 2. They could end up losing by 1. Backs are split. First and 10 for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Frank Pollard hammered at the 45. Picks up 2.5 yards. Call it second down and a long 7. In the grasp of Leroy Selman, everything out of Oklahoma.
Gary Anderson along the sidelines has to be thinking.
You know, he's only missed 1 field goal in Three Rivers Stadium in his career. He's made his last 10 in a row here, and he's looking at a big one if Stout can work it down into field goal range. Second and a long 7. Again, play action. Stout has lots of time. Looks. Now he'll run. Loses the football. Out of bounds. It will be Pittsburgh's ball. John Cannon forced the fumble. Stout dribbles the ball out of bounds, and it will be, believe it or not, very close to a Pittsburgh first down. He might have gotten it with a dribble.
He's carrying this ball very loosely, got it in his hands. He's tripped up there. The ball dribbles out of bounds. Jeremiah Castile can't get it for Tampa Bay. Pittsburgh is lucky.
First down for the Steelers on the dribble out of bounds by Cliff Stout. 7 turnovers against the Pittsburgh Steelers in this football game, and John McKay must be muttering to himself, what do we have to do to win? We lost in overtime to Minnesota, then to Dallas when we had them beaten. We've lost 6 of our 8 games by a touchdown or less. We lead by 2. We play a great game, and we're in danger of losing again. Here's Cliff Stout out of the pocket. He'll go out of bounds at the 40-yard line. Believe it or not, Cliff managed to pick up 2 yards. Leroy Selman chased him out of bounds.
Great effort by Hugh Green also pursuing those 2 great Pro Bowlers on the right side of the defense for Tampa Bay. 2:11 left. Steelers on a drive hoping for at least a field goal, which would put them ahead 13-12. You know, Jim, let's talk about that ball being fumbled by Stout and going out of bounds. You laugh about Mike Coconut, but there are some teams like the Dallas Cowboys, like the Pittsburgh Steelers this year, where the coconut drops off a tree. It not only misses them, but it falls and lands on their plate perfectly cut up, ready to eat.
The Bucs must feel like an avalanche. From the 40-yard line, 2:11. Stout goes up top on second and 8. Wide open. Scansey inside the 25. Inside the 20. First down, Steelers. A 22-yard pickup to the rookie out of Washington.
Tampa Bay plays that deep, soft zone. Stout lays it here. He just drills the ball into Scansey in between the zones for a first down. Pittsburgh Steelers are on the move looking for victory here at Three Rivers Stadium.
2-yard touchdown run, 9:48 left to go in the first quarter. The Dolphins of Don Shula lead the Rams of John Robinson. All of you except in Pittsburgh and Cleveland and Fort Pierce and Fort Myers will see that game on CBS Sports NFL doubleheader Sunday. In Fort Myers and Fort Pierce, you'll get Green Bay and Cincinnati. Right now, Chuck Noll is getting nervous. 2 minutes left to go in this football game. The Steelers with 2 timeouts remaining, trail by 2, 12-10. Wide receivers left and right. The backs are split. Franco on a delay. Convoys around the right side. Down to the 15-yard line. 2nd and 5. The Steelers on the move.
And if you're Tampa Bay, you know the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to run the ball to try to put it in a little better field goal range. They don't want to worry. They don't want to throw it and chance an interception. That time Franco gets good yardage.
Final score in from Chicago's Soldier Field. The Lions of Monty Clark 38-17 against the disorganized Bears of Mike Ditka. They've got some morale problems in Chicago. That was a grudge game. Ditka sent in a headhunter to level one of the Lions rookies in bad blood. Franco down to the 14.5-yard line. Keeping it on the ground, Jeff Davis pounced on top of Franco. Time remaining. That man is 117 away from winning his first game this year or from going 0-9. Another final in. The Falcons trying to get back into it in that NFC West on top over the Patriots, who fall to 4-5. Patriots are kind of like Green Bay, up one week and down another. The Colts upset the Eagles. Of course, on NFL doubleheader Sunday, Brent Nerve will have scores and highlights at halftime of that Rams-Dolphins clash down in the Orange Bowl. That's a difficult place to play. You know that, John. You played with the Jets and the Steelers. You had to make some trips down there.
Miami always tough at home. Don Shula pulling that team together, even though they've had some injuries on defense. Here, John McKay's comment, I think, after last week's loss to New Orleans was very revealing when he said, you know, I feel like I'm 100 years old this season, taking its toll on John McKay.
And you can see it at the Tampa Bay practices. He's kind of a lone figure standing out there. From the 15-yard line, time remaining. The Bucs are down to 2 timeouts. So are the Steelers. Pittsburgh looking at 3rd and 6 right now. You'd expect they would keep it on the ground, Pittsburgh, here, and try to use up as much time as they possibly could and not give the Bucs a chance to have too much time remaining.
And on the other side of that coin, that's why John McKay called timeout. If they do indeed kick a field goal, he wants a shot at moving his team up the field into field goal range.
How about play action here? How about Stout rolling out? He's rushed 9 times for 55 yards, thrown 39 times, completed 20 for 234. Inside handoff. Frank Pollard, first down and goal. The trap blocking of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
The best in the NFL, probably the best in the last decade. Take a look at it here. Frank Pollard breaking some tackles, almost getting into the end zone, ball at the 2-yard line, and the Steelers are getting close to putting the lights out for Tampa Bay.
Great call and nice pictures by our director, Bob Deacons, down in the truck. Did you see the reverse pivot by the quarterback, Cliff Stout? They faked the ball to Franco Harris. Pollard had a big hole. Picks up 13. First and goal. Pollard again. Touchdown! Blocking on the right side, the right guard, Rick Donnelly, number 55, second year out of North Carolina, and out of his 13th year, Larry Brown out of Kansas, after the extra point by Anderson. Steelers lead it for the first time with 31 seconds remaining. Again, the blocking, right side, Frank Pollard's 4th touchdown on the ground.
Frank Pollard also, look at Franco leading the way, not much of a block, but that surge from the offensive line. Pollard, a big back, 220 pounds, low to the ground, takes it in to put the Steelers on top, 17-12, 31 seconds left. John McKay has to be wondering, what do I have to do to win?
They led the football game for 59.5 minutes. They had a 12-0 lead. Then with 8:42 left to go, Cliff Stout, a 10-yard scoring strike, his 6th of the season, the first for the rookie Wayne Capers to narrow the gap to 12-7. Then driving, getting back in, a field goal by Anderson closed the gap to 12-10. And finally, with 31 seconds left to go, after Frank Pollard carried for 13 yards and a first and goal, he punched it on in, blocking on the right side. Franco Harris with a big block, and the Bucs now trail it by 5, 17-12.
So reminiscent of the Dallas Cowboy games 5 weeks ago when the Bucs led all the way.
Kickoff return by number 28, Melvin Carver, busts it across to the 32-yard line.
I don't like that play, Jim, excuse me, because that kick gets the ball at the 31-yard line, gives them good field position, and now Thompson, all he has to do is move that team about 35 yards, 40 yards, and he'll be in field goal range for Capiz. Of course, that's a tall order against this defense.
It doesn't matter. It's 12.
It does, exactly right. They need a
5-point
touchdown.
difference. They have to get the touchdown.
You're exactly right. They have to get the touchdown.
From the 32-yard line, Jack Thompson, the throwing Samoan. We asked him yesterday, said, what will you have to do if you have to play catch-up? He said, I'll have to revert to my nickname.
And he's going to have to do that now. He's going to have to put the ball up. Screen pass.
James Wilder will try to get out of bounds and does at the 36-yard line. Mel Blount in his 14th year out of Southern. 6'3", 205, the veteran. But a penalty flag is down. It appears to be holding against Tampa Bay. Let's check the call with Ben Drive. The Bucs running out of chances. No, personal foul against the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Keith Gary, number 92, I think, was the man who, with a personal foul. That moves the ball upfield. Big break for Tampa Bay.
Huge break for Tampa Bay. Moves it all the way down to the 48.
Personal foul, roughing the passer, number 92, hit the quarterback in the head. First down.
I'd say that's a personal foul.
Keith Gary, you know, to move a team, you need the big weapons. Jimmy Giles is one of the big playmen. So is Kevin House. Thompson has to get the ball to one of those guys to get that touchdown to go out in front.
Slot to the left, House to the right. Only 19 seconds. They need 6. A field goal doesn't help them. Thompson out of the pocket. Will go down at the 50 and quickly call timeout. 13 seconds left to go. Keith Gary, the man that got there. The Bucs do not take a timeout. Unbelievable.
Why?
I don't believe it. Incompleted pass. 3 seconds left. Keith Gary, the man that put pressure on Jack Thompson. Why in the world wouldn't you take a timeout? They just wasted at least 10 seconds.
There's no rhyme or reason. There's no reason to save your timeouts.
NFL football on CBS Sports.
Probably lost one play there. Had he taken a timeout, he would have had even an incompletion there. He would have had about 10 seconds left. Possibly time for 2 plays.
Well, barring a penalty, you're looking perhaps at the last play of this football game, and the Bucs will lose their 7th in 9 tries by a touchdown or less. Hail Mary time, flood formation to the right side. Jack Thompson will have to throw it 50 yards. Incomplete at the 10-yard line. Rick Woods batted it down. Time has run out. The Steelers came back from a 12-0 deficit. They go to 7-2 in the AFC Central, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers go to 0-9 in the NFC Central. The Bucs will now travel to Pittsburgh and then to Cleveland. The executive producer of CBS NFL Football is Terry O'Neill. The senior producer, Charles H. Milton III. Today's game produced by David Winter and directed by Bob Dekas. And the rest of the folks who bring you the sights and sounds of NFL football. It's doubleheader Sunday. All of you, except in Pittsburgh and Cleveland, because of the NFL blackout home rule, will be seeing the Rams and the Miami Dolphins coming up next. Dolphins lead 7-0. In Fort Myers and Fort Pierce, you'll get Green Bay and Cincinnati. So on Halloween weekend, the harbingers of bad fortune have knocked off Tampa Bay again. They go to 0-9. Pittsburgh goes to 7-2. For John Dockery, I'm Jim Kelly saying so long from Pittsburgh's Three Rivers Stadium. The final score, the Steelers 17, the Bucs 12. CBS Sports coverage of the National Football League continues after this word from your local station.